next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
Would help if I put a microphone in front of my face. That's what happens when we're rocking a show and it's late night. It's Saturday, folks. It's July the 11th, 2026. We are live, just in case there's any curious minds out there or first-time viewers. Do me a solid, folks, because I am watching the chat and I want to make sure you guys can hear me, even though I just put the mic in front of my face. So as soon as I get the 5x5s from all of you guys, including all of you watching on YouTube, I will make sure to get into this. I just want to make sure we are good. And it looks like waiting for those first 5x5s and loud and clears. Help me out here, folks. While we're waiting for that, and you guys confirm that you can hear me, and if you could hear me, do me a solid. Push the heart. Smash the thumb. Share this out there. Oh, there they are. 5x5s are in. So looks like our delay is somewhere around 30 to 40 seconds. So we're good. 5x5s are coming on YouTube and all the other platforms watching. We're assuming that it's good to go, folks. Had a good day today and hope you guys had a chance to spend time with your families or those that you care about. We're going to cover day 4 and 5 of the Charlie Kirk preliminary hearing with Tyler Robinson. I'll tell you guys right now, we're probably looking at about an hour to about an hour and a half to cover that. Got about just under 30 minutes of clips, probably around 27, 28 minutes of clips, and of course my commentary. So I'll try to keep us to probably about an hour to hour 15, but hour and a half tops with covering the 2 days. And then I got a bonus show for you guys at the end of that you're really going to appreciate. It's super cool. Some guests I've had on here before. We talked about some things that are important to me. And then if you stay to the very, very, very end of the bonus content here, we recorded the bonus content a few days ago. There's something spicy and it's late at night, so I think we're good. Everybody's baby should be in bed anyways, as maybe I provide you guys some stuff to make you want to make some more babies. Disclaimer. Other than that, this is what I'll say as we get into I'll run a few ads here and then we're going to get into the show. We're going to be about 80-20, 80 being on day 4. Day 4 is, in my opinion, the most significant day in the entire preliminary hearing. And most of you are probably aware of why. We're talking ammo, we're talking rifle photos, we're talking footage, enhanced footage went into day 5. But day 5 was a short day in the prelim. And then we'll do that. And then I don't know if I'm going to be able to rock it tomorrow. But one thing I am going to do for you guys tomorrow is I'm going to have the clips from day 1, day 2, day 3, and tonight's clip of just the trial stuff from the Just Alpha shows. I'm going to put them all into one long clip. So this way, if you guys want to share my assessment and analysis of the prelim, it'll be content that's just the prelim and not the other stuff that I went into on the Just Alphas throughout the rest of the week. So I think that part's covered. And then sometime next week, because I've had a couple of requests from people that want to do an assessment, some people that want to do debates. And I'm scheduling all that for next week. Of course, I'm pretty sure my boy CanCon's going to want to do it. I know Nino wants to do it. And then I'll probably do a debrief of myself where I kind of just recap everything. Because I won't do that tonight because that'd be a little bit more lengthy. And I know it's already late for you guys in the East Coast. Someone says, trolls be trolling. Is there already a troll? I haven't even gotten to the content. Why would we have a troll already? Let me see. Rumble says, I don't see a troll yet. I don't know. Maybe you guys are just talking trash. Let's see. So got so bad the mod had to set it. Chat only been available to subscribers. All right, maybe you guys are talking about something else. I don't know. I know we have Cali Brat in the chat. Cali Brat's a mod, if you guys don't know. So if somebody's giving you guys a hard time, reach out to Callie Brad if I'm not paying attention to the chat. Okay, so I was just joking. Alpha, see, squirrel, y'all know why trying to distract me on a Saturday night. So, folks, get your drinks, get your coffee. Let's go with the first ad. Rumble took care of us when nobody else wanted to, so we're going to start off by giving them some love. I hope you guys have already done so, but if you haven't, we've heard a lot about crypto. But here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so that you could actually own and control your own money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you have felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today. Everybody's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels a little bit complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and it makes it simple, really simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay so that you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in just a few short minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now, not later. Right now, scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download the Rumble wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. Ka-chow. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. Folks, I had some pool time with the family today, and it was cool. I haven't been able to get into the pool in quite some time, and I always hear the family out there jumping around and splashing. So being able to, go out there and jump in the pool with the family was good. It really felt like it was solid. And the other thing, you guys know that I was rocking the Amazon blue lens glasses, right? And I thought those were good. Like, they were working because we spent so much time behind these computers and these monitors. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go and actually invest a couple $100 and get me a real pair of glasses. And I'm rocking them right now. And I'm telling you, the Amazon ones were awesome right now. Just like, God, they're not prescription. My eyes are good. This is literally just the blue computer lens filters to, protect me. So there we go. Next on board, and then we'll come back. It's showtime. One of my favorites. You guys probably know who it is. I'll see you guys on the other side.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
Again, folks, all the links to my amazing partners, affiliates, and sponsors down in the description below on whatever platform you're watching. And then Callie Brad says, sorry, Alpha, I'm the one that started the troll conversation. The mod is the one that actually started the conversation to distract the show. Imagine that. You guys, it's going to be a good show. I got my notes. We'll go through these clips. Let me bring these first ones up on the screen for you guys, and we'll get into it. Nick Sorter comes out, and there was, I got to remind everybody, trust me, CanCon's been on the phone with me all week. We've been arguing about some stuff, debating some stuff, agreeing on some stuff. I have other people that are calling me, and I think one of the main kind of things that people are missing here is this is a prelim, not a trial. And sorry, I almost choked on something. The threshold for a prelim is completely different for the threshold for a trial. On top of that, the strategies are different. The prosecution is putting out just enough to make sure that the judge says, okay, these are the charges you're charging. The elements of the crime are met. And yes, there's probable cause to believe that in this case, Tyler Robinson is the one that did these crimes. So again, they're not going to do the minimum, because then you risk that the judge could rule and say, hey, there's no probable cause. So it's going to be the minimum plus some. Now, The defense side, this is their chance that they don't want to go to trial. So the defense is going to attack as much as they can the probable causes being out there. Now, both sides don't want to reveal their strategy, but the one that really wants to go hard, especially in the prelim, is going to be the defense when they don't waive it. But again, I just want to remind everybody the thresholds are different. And when we get into some stuff later, we'll talk about it. Again, if this is the first time you're watching the Just Alpha show, do me a solid first, hit the thumb, hit the heart, and subscribe. It's free. But a little bit about my background. Did law enforcement for about 14 and a half years, certified expert witness in the state of California, which is a hard one to do that for those of you that have been Leos in this state. On top of that, I've formal homicide training, formal detective training, part of tactical teams. I've put people away for homicide, investigated homicides. So I have a background in this. I have an expert, and this is going to piss some people off, but let them get mad. I have an expert background in this. I can speak with authority on this. So while a lot of other people and a lot of other podcasts you may be watching will provide opinions, I'm providing expert opinions on this subject matter because this is my background. If the state, and again, even with all the January 6th stuff, they still never pulled my expertise as a court witness. And even following that, when they finally dropped the case, for those of you that don't know my story, they immediately started calling me back to be an expert witness. And of course, I did it because doing the right thing is doing the right thing. Susie Q in the Rumble chat says MK Ultra was a factor. 100%. 100%. And when I do have an opinion, I will let you guys know it's an opinion. And I've always said, and I haven't changed it, did Tyler Robinson pull the trigger and fire the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk? Definitively, yes. Now, people will say, oh, so you're buying the Fed narrative. First, I'll say, what is that? Because most people are just regurgitating what they hear. But again, no, I'm not. I'm basing this off the information that we already have going into prelim. And now with prelim, I'm definitely convinced, right? And that's what we're going to get into. So we'll start off here. Nick Sorter comes out and says, breaking. The judge in the Charlie Kirk murder trial sides with Erica Kirk, overrules Tyler Robinson's attempt to hide Lance Twiggs' recorded testimony and messages from the public. The public will be allowed to hear the interview today. Erica's counsel made a direct plea. This has not been easy. The family deserves to see the evidence. They deserve to know what happened to Charlie. We urge the court to display the evidence here in court. Now, I'm going to play this clip, but understand that there's two different things here, and I don't want people to get confused. And we're talking Thursday. This is day 4 that we're in, if you guys joined a little bit late tonight. There is what they're referencing, which is the case agent doing an interview, or I'm sorry, not the case agent, but an agent from the case doing an interview with Lance Twiggs, the boyfriend of Charlie Kirk. And in that interview, and this is the part that the defense was arguing, is the defense was arguing that it was more of a testimony from the investigating officer than it was a testimony or, an answering of the questions from Lance Twiggs' side. So this was an argument that was being argued here. And on top of that, one of the things that they were arguing is that the officer, the investigator, was also providing some type of material for Twiggs to look at. And they didn't want that to be shown or published. So the judge, just so people understand, because I want to recap some things since, we've been off of this for 2 days. The judge was making these rulings based off 3 things. Admitting the evidence into the prelim. That was the first one. And I don't think there was one thing that didn't get admitted. I think there was one where they took it back, but it wasn't because of a judge refusal. But other than that, I think everything was admitted based off my recollection. 2, the next threshold was publishing it for the court to see. So this would be the attorneys and everybody present. The third thing that they ruled on was the next threshold, which was not only for the court to see, but that the media would be allowed to publish it for all of us to see. So these were the 3 things that were being ruled on. So again, everything was being allowed to be brought in and admitted, and the majority of things were being allowed for the court to see. And then, like I said, we had limited scope as the audience. So in this particular situation, the judge made the ultimate ruling where it was not going to be published to the media, the redacted parts. And there was like just under 2 minutes towards the tail end of just under a 30-minute clip. And then there was like another 15, 16 minutes early in the thing that was redacted. This is not to be confused with the thing that got everybody's panties in a bunch right now, which is the quote unquote enhanced 4K video. And we're going to talk about that, I promise. But I just want to keep this sequential as we go along. So let me play this clip so that you can hear the testimony from the Kirk family.
This has not been easy, as you can imagine. And I think the family deserves to see the evidence that's been gathered in this investigation. They deserve to know what happened to Charlie. So we urge the court to please, again, display the evidence here in the courtroom.
Thank you. Thank you to all parties. I appreciate the diligence and hard work that you've put in briefing, argument. These are important exhibits as it relates to what should be considered for, again, to be clear, these exhibits are being admitted to the court in its entirety. The question before the court is publication. It's in the courtroom and beyond the courtroom. And so this is the ruling as it relates to the briefing. And I know it wasn't a formal motion, but I'm just trying to be thorough in my approach. This matter comes before the court on the state's request to publish exhibits 16.1, 16.2, and 16.3 during the preliminary hearing and defendant's objection to that request. The exhibits consist of text messages between Mr. Robinson and a witness, Discord messages between Mr. Robinson and others, and a written note the state attributes to Mr. Robinson. Attorneys for Mr. Robinson argue the publication of the exhibits during the proceedings subject to electronic media coverage would create a substantial risk of prejudice and impair his rights to due process under the 14th Amendment. The defendant relies on Rizzo versus Louisiana, Estes, and Skilling, and asks the court to consider any admissible exhibit for the purposes of the preliminary hearing while limiting their public display or broadcast. The state responds that Rizzo and Estes do not require a categorical restriction here. The state argues that the exhibits are materially different from the televised custodial interrogation at issue in Rizzo because they are written communications allegedly made outside law enforcement custody. The state also argues that the potential prejudice can be addressed through trial management measures, including voir dire, and that the victim representative has an interest in being present for and able to follow important criminal proceedings. The court has considered the parties' arguments, the nature of the exhibits, and the procedural posture of this preliminary hearing, the defendant's due process interests, the public nature of the criminal proceedings, and the interests asserted by the state and victim representative. On the present record, the court is not persuaded that the publication of exhibits 16.1, 16.2, and 16.3 during the preliminary hearing creates the type of inherent or presumed prejudice that requires categorical restrictions under Rizzo, Estes, and Skilling. Unlike the broadcast interrogation in Rizzo, the exhibits at issue are written communications allegedly made outside police custody and are being offered in the ordinary course of a judicial proceeding. That distinction does not eliminate the possibility of prejudice, but it weighs against treating publication of the exhibits as presumptively unconstitutional. The court further finds that any potential prejudice arising from media coverage may be addressed, if necessary, through the appropriate trial procedures, including voir dire and any other measures warranted before trial. This ruling is limited to publication of the exhibits during the preliminary hearing and does not determine their admissibility at trial, and I insert, if one occurs, or foreclose any later request for relief based on a more developed record. Accordingly, the defendant's objection is overruled. As it relates to this preliminary hearing, the state may publish exhibits 16.1, 16.2, and 16.3, and the court is authorizing, with the exception of the third to last page on exhibit 16.1, because it contains information including a phone number and address to be redacted before publication in the courtroom. But as it relates to 16.1, because it was publicly distributed by the state, that 16.1 in its entirety may be broadcast through electronic media. That is the ruling of the court.
So, let me address Kelly brought up a good question. And she says, Alpha, do you have any thoughts about SM Post saying Judge Graff is too much like Judge Ito in that he's letting the preliminary hearing being controlled by the defense? No, I completely disagree with this. And again, for those that don't know, I watched the entire trial, day one to its conclusion, every minute of it. And even the minutes where they weren't telling or saying anything, still was listening. What I think Graff did here was an exceptional job as a judge. He was the definition of no team, not pro prosecution, not pro defense. He judged this very fair. Now, he is going to do things that it's going to be he is not going to jeopardize the constitutional rights of the defendant. As much as we may hate this guy and we want to see this guy prosecuted to the fullest extent to the law for whatever, assuming that you subscribe that he is guilty, this judge has done everything he can to protect the integrity of the case. An example of this, and this is more of the day 5 conversation, but we'll touch on it a little bit here, and I'll probably just mention it again when we get into day 5, is in a note that we're going to show here in a couple tabs. This note was not authorized to be published to the public. And I'm going to get into the details of that as we get closer to the note. But just to kind of answer the question that you brought up, Kelly Bright, is he handled it in a very fair way. And I know one of the arguments people are saying is, but it's us, the public, that took the ultimate punishment. And the answer to that is, yes, you're right. But it's because of the intent of that sanction. The public is where the jury pool is going to be derived from. And so what he's doing is he's trying to protect the future integrity of that jury pool. So even though we don't like it, what he did was a fair sanction, given the fact that it was the second time that it happened. It happened early on in the case too, where it wasn't as significant because one of the information that was already kind of public in one of the charging documents, but nonetheless, it still had more details to it. But again, my answer to that is no, I don't think this is the same thing as a Judge Ito. I think this judge was textbook. I think his handling of the prelim is something that they could even use in training, when it comes to this kind of stuff. But let's keep carrying on. Again, I'm going to talk about that note in much more detail as we get there in a few clips. 0 Hour puts out, Erica Kirk's lawyer is telling the judge that Tyler Robinson's first confession is already public, so the statements made have no bias on his constitutional rights because he already admitted the crime in public. And again, that is a true statement, but this goes to the argument that the judge is making. This is cumulative evidence, and that is not the purpose of prelim. We like it because us, the public, the prosecution, and others are like, yes, this keeps stacking the evidence on this guy. But again, this is prelim. This is supposed to be, this prelim went way beyond the threshold that was needed for probable cause, and a lot of that was allowed towards the tail end of day 4 and definitely in day 5. But I also think that the judge was giving the defense such leeway in day 5 to take away any potential argument that the defense would have made in the future to try to get Tyler Robinson out of this through like a mistrial or a motion to that nature, to say this judge was very pro prosecution. And the fact that he gave the defense such leeway following that act, and the fact that the prosecution came out and objected to some stuff, and the judge still sustained it and allowed him to go. And a lot of people were saying, and when we get into day 5 again, I'll talk about it a little bit more. It was the one more question, Your Honor, one more question. And you guys, for those of you that did watch, you saw how long those one more questions went and how many kind of sub questions still came as a result of it. So long answer to the short to your question, Kelly Bratt, is no, I don't think they're the same. I think this judge did a phenomenal job. And again, this statement from the attorney is also a true statement. But again, this is a probable cause hearing. So let's get into the next tab that I got set up for you guys right here. Nick Sorter again comes out and says, accused Kirk killer Tyler Robinson reportedly becomes uneasy and starts fidgeting every time his lover Lance Twiggs and his recorded testimony is mentioned. The recording that's about to be played publicly in the courtroom could be damning. Clearly, Robinson fears something coming. Now, what I wanted to say to this is day one, the camera crew did capture and even sometimes focus in on Tyler Robinson a few times. Day two, I think he might have had that once or twice where they focused in on him, but then you definitely didn't see that happening down the pipeline. And so I don't know if this was a communication from the judge to, keep it broad, but don't focus on him. I don't know, because again, does that start getting into the freedom of the press? I don't know what was said, but something, whether it was a decision made by the media or this was a prosecution asking for a favor from the media saying, hey, we don't want this to get brought up as tainting the jury trial later. I don't know, because we never got an explanation to it. But I did notice that as we progressed through the preliminary trial, we had less and less focusing of the suspect, Tyler Robinson. So I would imagine that Nick Sorter, because obviously he has a lot of friends that were present in this courthouse each day, was probably getting a lot of feedback from people that he had present. But with that, let's take a listen to this clip right here.
The Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing will be resuming at any moment. We will take you there. There is going to be a very big moment today when we hear from Lance Twiggs. In part, it was a 37-minute tape. We will hear about 17 minutes of that, and we will take you right to the courtroom the moment that happens. Emily, I'm very interested in the color notes coming out of the court. We don't have eyes on Robinson and Erica and those in the courtroom, but Tyler Robinson apparently is uneasy at times during the hearing, especially during mentions of Twiggs. That's his former roommate and lover. He takes deep breaths, he fidgets, he adjusts his suit jacket. Interesting reaction.
Indeed, I wonder if he feels betrayed, by someone that he trusted or something. Given the mountain of overwhelming evidence against him, is that the only thing of gravity facing you? We know that the judge admonished, in terms of color commentary coming from the courtroom, different reporters for looking back at the family too much. Clearly, there's a very tight ship being ran in there. But to our broader earlier point, with such clear deference on defense and clear deference to the potential for prejudicial impact on defense, pulling out for a second, the entire purpose of this is to demonstrate probable cause on behalf of prosecution that there's enough evidence to proceed to trial. Right? And thus far, we have seen ballistics, we have seen testimony, we have seen DNA evidence, we have seen footage, we've seen surveillance, we've seen confessions. There's so much happening here.
So the last part is what I want to focus in. The other part, we already kind of covered it. One of the conversations, and I don't think he'll mind because we're brothers. One of the things that the conversations that I had with CanCon, probably day 3 or day 4. I don't remember exactly what day it was. But what I was telling them is the level of information that's being provided in this probable cause hearing is insane. And what am I saying here? If this was not, if the victim here was not Charlie Kirk, and this was not a high profile case, if this was, and I don't mean to sound callous, but it is what it is. If this was a everyday run-of-the-mill homicide that we investigate, let me tell you guys, all the same facts, right? We're just removing high-profile people. Just this case, same facts. You would have had enough with the officer coming out and saying, hey, stop this vehicle before we knew, subject Tyler Robinson was the suspect, got the partial plate, and I saw him. And then later on, once we got the name and I ran the plate and it came back to him, and the guy that I talked to that was driving that car was Tyler Robinson. And then on top of that, you just have the CCTV footage that we had. Forget the enhanced, just what we have there. And then we have the metadata from the phone, putting them there, as well as the parking struck cameras. You're done. the preliminary hearing's done in 2 days. That's it. It's that quick. With that, you wouldn't even be talking about the guns outside of the functionality that it is a functioning firearm. Other than that's it. That's how low the threshold is for probable cause. Now, again, before people start to panic and be like, oh my God, it's that easy. This is just to continue to trial. The threshold at trial to get a conviction, for those of you that have ever been part of a jury pool, understand that there's a thing called the jury instructions. This is one thing you learn from the law enforcement. Young cops, they see, oh, crime A has these 3 elements. I'm gonna make sure those 3 elements are met, and my report's gonna identify those 3 elements, and they're gonna submit that report to the DA's office. And at its minimum, that's enough for prosecution, and that's enough to go to trial. But that doesn't mean that's going to be enough to get a jury to do a conviction. So as officers start to get more experience, as they become part of the detective bureaus, or they start to work on task force, you start to do your investigations. And again, this comes with training and experience and literature that you study from these cases. What you start to do as you go down and become a more seasoned detective or an investigator is you start to do your investigations and you start to write your reports to meet the threshold of jury instructions, not just the elements of a crime. And so completely different. Again, so I don't want people to panic, and I know we already have issues with the justice system. I'm not trying to create more. I just want to make sure that you guys have clarity on what's going on, because there's a lot of people doing podcasts right now that are talking like they know what they're talking about, and they don't know what they're talking about. So, and I want to make sure you guys have an understanding of the actual facts, what my expert opinion is, and then also the way this actually works in the court system. So let's keep going. Oh, wait, one more thing she said at the tail end. Now we covered it. I don't have to keep beating a dead horse. So now we get into this one. Blake Neff puts this out. Lance Twiggs says that Robinson admitted to him in person on September 11th that the message he had sent the night before, presumably the messages sent while he was trying to retrieve his rifle the night of September 10th, was true. He says Robinson told him he wishes he hadn't done it. Folks, this statement is way more significant than people have either understood or documented. I've seen very few people, even people that I know have backgrounds in law enforcement and judicial process, they touched on it. But to me, this statement is equally as powerful as the video footage itself. This is not hearsay. I saw a lot of people trying to argue with me. This is hearsay. No, this isn't Lance Twiggs saying somebody told me this is what Tyler Robinson said. This is firsthand information. This is Lance Twiggs testifying to an officer that this is what Tyler Robinson told him. That's not hearsay. The other thing that I want to say, and let's get into this letter, and then I'll give you guys some more information. So Eric Dougherty reports, just in, under oath, Lance Twiggs confirmed Tyler Robinson left a note which admitted to killing Charlie Kirk. The defense is crashing down right now before your eyes. No wonder they were delaying so much. It reportedly said, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie, and I took it. Twiggs said he took a picture of the note and put it back on the desk. And we're gonna have a conversation right now shortly on that. But let me play this clip for you, because I don't want to get ahead of it. Let me just stick to what I have outlined for you guys.
He left. I want to bring this up, and I should say that these text messages that we've been looking at here are Bates number 54. Okay, the notes have been titled 16.3 with a note, and this is Bates number 58. Do you recognize that on the screen there?
Yeah.
What do you recognize it as?
That was the note under his keyboard that he was referring to in the first text of that chain.
Okay, so where did you find this?
On his desk underneath his computer keyboard.
And I assume you read it.
Yeah.
And then what did you do with it after you read it?
I believe I just put it back down on the desk after I took a picture of it.
Okay. And again, the time you read it was probably around 11 o'clock or so on the 10th,
Yes.
the night of September 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And did you ever see that again after you placed it back on his desk?
No, I don't think I did.
And that was a desk in his bedroom?
Yes.
And that's a separate bedroom than your bedroom?
Yeah.
And now I want to go to what's been titled.
Folks, that is devastating testimony. Now, let me get to the note, and then I'll provide you some of what I would say fairly is speculation, but this is what we're going to see in the trial. But we'll call it speculation just to keep everything on the up and up. Kanoka the Great puts breaking Tyler Robinson's note confessing to killing Charlie Kirk. And then it reads, Luna, if you're reading this per my text, then I am so sorry. I left the house this morning on a mission and set an auto text. I am likely dead or facing a lengthy prison sentence. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I took it. I don't know if I will have succeeded, but I had hoped to make it home to you. End. Now, this is the part that created all the controversy for day 5. And hold on, let me just adjust something on the chat here. Let me see. It looks like somebody has a question. Hold on, I want to be interactive with you guys tonight because I've tried to do that with this prelim. Looks like Jessu22 says at Ghost, there was construction, but according to Alpha, the crime scene had been completed. He made it make sense. Okay, so it sounds like, yeah, if you have a crime scene question, I believe that was day 2 or 3. I think it was day 3, actually. If you go back and you watch Just Alpha on Wednesday night, because that would have been day 3, I covered the crime scene. I actually covered it in depth, and I think that will provide you clarity. I don't want to rehash all that because it'll just make day 3. Okay, thank you. I thought that's what it was. So go watch Wednesday night's Just Alpha. It's the first part of the show, and you'll see I cover that at length so people, again, can have clarity to what this actually looks like instead of the hype. Oh my God, a crime scene was covered up. That's not the case. But here to this note, to bring us back where we're at. This was only up on screen for just like 2.5 seconds. Because I'm watching live, and I remember as soon as I see it live, I was like, holy shit. Rewinded it, took a screenshot because I already knew where this was going, right? I was like, maybe they're going to try to reach out to the different media outlets that are putting this out there and try to scrub it. But again, the internet is forever. But this became the thing of controversy. Now, do I think that this, because one of the things that's coming out there is, was a setup for media to do it. I don't believe that at all. There was an exhibit being shown that was authorized to be published at all 3 levels, admitted into court, published within the court, and then published to the media. That was the exhibit that was being shown. Then the paralegal switches to the next exhibit that they're talking about. Not a fault of the paralegal. Nobody's at fault here. This is just, they got to come up with procedures that are going to prevent this. And again, I can provide my insight, but I want to stick to this topic because it's important. So the note pops up. The cameraman or woman, actually, I think it was a woman that was on this one, sees it and then immediately pans off of it. We're talking 2 to 2.5 seconds. So obviously they did their due diligence, and then this comes into an argument that's addressed. This note was, some people are arguing, well, this note was already in the charging documents. A summary of the note was in the charging documents, but it wasn't read verbatim here. This note is, the note in of itself is almost the nail in the coffin for Tyler Robinson. Now, well, they can do some handwriting comparisons. Now, I don't know if they can do, I imagine they can do a handwriting comparison from a screenshot, because obviously you can still see the print. But then again, you're going to bring in the arguments of distortion because of a screenshot. It's not like the actual same thing of having the document. And the reason we don't have the document is because Lance Twig, the furry boyfriend, destroyed the note. Now, before you all panic and say, well, there it is, that's the cover up, he destroyed it. No, he destroyed it at the request of Tyler Robinson, which is documented in the text. This is part of that long conversation that we got to hear the audio of. We didn't get to see the video of because of well, we saw some of the video, but this is the part where he had large segments. We saw there was a whole lot of 17s in this prelim. Make of it as you will. But this is where we roughly got to see 17 minutes of a 37-minute video clip, right? Now, I want to address this part is my opinion. And I'm going to base this opinion off things that I have noticed, especially within domestic violence cases. Why would the victim destroy the note, but take a screenshot of it? And this part, again, is my opinion. His boyfriend, Tyler Robinson, just murdered somebody. So put yourself in the shoes of this furry person. Just don't do the furry shit for me, please. Imagine the person that you're in a relationship with just told you they went and did an assassination in front of thousands or at least hundreds, if not thousands of people. Do you think that that person has the propensity for violence? Definitively, yes. Do you think that person, and we're referring to Tyler Robinson here, the killer, do you think that that person is willing to do whatever they need to preserve their life? Remember, he hasn't turned himself in yet. We're within hours of the homicide happening, right? So the things are hot here. The meerkat says, I pooped in my litter box. You took it too far there, meerkat. You took it too far. Imagine in those hours, you think, if he comes and finds that I've hidden this note somewhere, he's not going to trust me. He's probably going to kill me. Now, to bring it to domestic violence people, in domestic violence cases, there's a lot of victims that will record audio, take photos of their injury or something that, you know, the perpetrator did. And then afterwards, and obviously the perpetrator will see them recording. The perpetrator will ask them, hey, please get rid of that, whether it's through them trying to do the facade of an apology or some through the, you know, strict threats. Like, if you don't get rid of that, this is what I'm going to do. You'll see the victim and these people destroy this stuff. My opinion is that Lance burnt it, but again, left just enough that he could show Tyler Robinson, see, there it is, it's burnt, right? It's destroyed, to satisfy him. But why would he take the screenshot? I think he took the screenshot because he didn't know where this was going to go. And this was something that he saw would either be leverage against Tyler, it would be leverage with law enforcement should investigations come and be like, hey, I can prove that I wasn't a part of this. Because again, what's to say if you're Lance and you're like, if I burn this note, this is him confessing to the murder, and later on he tries to blame me for it, or later on they try to say that we're both involved since I'm his boyfriend, like, this note is proof that I wasn't. And so I think that there's a lot of legitimate reasons of why he would took the screenshot, or why he took the screenshot. The fact of the matter is he took it. Now, for those that are saying, well, it's all, you know, this is, you know, a part of the cover-up. They celebrated his phone, folks. So when he took the screenshot is going to be documented. The metadata behind that's going to be documented. And for all of you that think, well, I changed the times on my phone and I did all this stuff, you don't realize the way the internal workings of your cell phones work. All right. I've used Celebrite before, and I'll tell you guys right now, all the stuff that you think you've deleted off your phones, you didn't delete it off your phones. Files, photographs, emails, text messages, it's going to get recovered. So, and again, Lance, and we're going to get into that because of a Candace Owens situation, but just understand the gravity of this letter. This is a confession. The only thing you have to do is you have to prove that Tyler Robinson wrote this letter. And again, if you believe, and I do, that the special aid or the case agent, the SBI agent that's interviewing Lance Twiggs, because I want to make sure we hammer this point, because everybody's trying to argue, oh, dude, there's no way that he doesn't have probable cause. This trial is enough to convict him. Forget this probable cause off this document, again, with a little bit more added, right? So let me just add that little asterisk to the statement I made before people just try to clip that and talk some shit. with this, we know that law enforcement has Tyler Robinson's phone. We know that law enforcement had Lance Twiggs's phone. We know that they ran Celebrite on Lance Twiggs, which means we know that we can educated speculation that, of course, they ran Celebrite on Tyler Robinson's phone. So when the agent is reading the messages to Lance Twiggs from Tyler Robinson, and one of the messages says, hey, did you find the note under the keyboard? All they have to do is show that Tyler Robinson's phone that was in his possession, and we'll get into, well, how do you know it was in his possession? We'll get to that. That Tyler Robinson's phone is the phone that sent that message to Lance Twiggs. Lance Twiggs' own testimony says that he went to the keyboard, recovered the note that Tyler Robinson mentions in that message. The screenshot of that note then is post that text message to keep all this in a chronological order so that it makes sense to the court case. And then we see this note. Done. Now, how do you prove that Tyler Robinson was in possession of that phone? Well, let's get into that. What we didn't see here in prelim, because it's prelim, but what we will see if it goes to trial. If it goes to trial, I think we're going to see a plea the morning of or the day before, and we'll get into that a little bit later, maybe. But what you'll see if this goes to trial is you're going to see that metadata from the phone is going to be put with the known places where Tyler Robinson is. So everywhere that there's CCTV footage, they're going to show from the Celebrite, as well as the search warrant that they got from whoever his phone provider is. They're going to show the cell tower hits, and they're also going to show any connections that he had to any other devices that were connected to the school or anything remotely in the school when he was there. So they're going to match the phone locations with the surveillance footage. On top of that, they're going to match the phone location where the Chick-fil-A that he went to eat, or Dairy Queen, whatever it was, where he went to go eat. They're going to corroborate it with that. They're going to corroborate the location of his phone when the security officer stopped him during the evening hours of the 12th, like it was like at 12:30 something in the morning. They're going to corroborate it with that based off someone who had a physical ID of Tyler Robinson in the car. So these are all the things that are going to be used to prove Tyler Robinson was in possession of his phone through the course of these events. That information leads you to corroborating and verifying this letter, which is a confession. I really hope that I explained that well. If I didn't, feel free to rumble rant some questions, but if you don't want to spend the money, you can just put it in there. Just make sure you put a question mark so it's easier for me to find, or put them in the comment section so when I go to review the show tonight doing the edits, that I can address this. Because this is something I want to make sure that I was very clear in explaining, because no one else is explaining that. No one. Even podcasters that have prior law enforcement experience, they're not talking about this. And this part's important, again, because as long as you corroborate the stuff that, again, the little asterisks of speculation with the phone data and all that, this right here alone would get a jury to do a conviction. Imagine you're the jury for a second, and I know I'm hammering this, but because it's very important. Imagine you're the jury and you're coming into deliberation, and you have the boyfriend who says, the suspect texted me for this. The suspect told me that he killed Charlie Kirk. Then he told me if I found the letter that he left me. So aside from confessing to me himself, he tells me if I find the letter, I find the letter. The letter is a confession. And then on top of those two confessions, a verbal one and a written one, law enforcement proves to you, the jury, that all the metadata and all the search warrant information derived from his service provider on his phone, in addition to the CCTV footage, that's because they're going to map it out. They're going to show everything chronologically. You would convict. Every single one of us would convict on that. So hopefully that I made that make sense. This was just a zoomed in part of it. If you guys want to see, it sucks that he calls himself Luno. My damn last name is furry out there doing that. But anyways, I just wanted to zoom in on this just to kind of show you guys. And again, you're watching this through a TV screen, but is this something where they could still do a handwriting sample? Yes, I absolutely believe they could still do an analysis of a handwriting sample off of this, but you're going to have the argument of how much distortion is created from an image, and it would be a valid argument. And again, leave it to the expert. So let's keep pushing on. Cinema Shogun puts, holy shit, 5 bullet fragments were found inside of Charlie Kirk's body during his autopsy. Photos of the fragments were shown during Tyler Robinson's preliminary hearing today. Candace Owens picked the worst time ever to hop on board the exploding microphone theory. I already addressed the microphone theory earlier. I'm not going to do it again. Do I have more close-up image of the, and we'll get to that one in just a second. Let me just click on these so you guys can see them a little bit more. Here you're seeing the bullet fragments. Let's go to the next image just so you guys get to see them all. Now, one of the things that I want to address, and there's a couple people that are talking about this, is people are talking about the diameter of the bullet. And there's arguments being made, well, it's another caliber because of this, it's another caliber. This is what I got to remind you guys. The diameter is the measurement that's being taken from the forensic ATF expert. This is a bullet that has impacted something. It is not going to maintain its original form. Example, imagine you're driving your Honda Accord, and as you're driving, SUV comes out, so you swerve and you go and you run smack into a concrete wall. So what happens to the car? The car hits and it turns into an accordion. And what happens to the frame of the car? The frame tweaks. So now imagine the law enforcement comes out to take measurements of the car, measurements of the front that did the impact, and measurements of the back. Do you think that car is going to maintain the exact same measurements as it did when it came off the lot when you bought it? Of course not. The frame has been tweaked. The vehicle is now, depending on the angle of impact, etc. You get the point I'm trying to make. It's tweaked. So understand that when the forensic tech is measuring, if you guys can see my mouse here, the diameter right here, he's just saying that the diameter range here is from this range to this range based off of what I have on here. Again, this is a bullet that has impacted something. So a lot of people are trying to say, well, no, then it could have been a 223, not even close to being a 223, but whatever. But there's a lot of people making the argument, well, there's no way it could be a 30-06. Yes, it can. This is showing that the measurement that she's taking is reasonable to presume that it has that measurement because it was just about this measurement of a 30-06. And again, that's the argument that will be made in a trial. And they would show other bullets and all that other stuff. So again, don't want to spend too much time on that because that's pretty self-explanatory. And you'll take one position. People are going to take positions based on what side that they feel obligated to. This is what I would say is, one, Candace Owens, Ian Carroll's side, you're absolutely retarded if you're on that side. If you're choosing the side of the Benny Johnsons and all of them, it's closer to realistic, but even they're exaggerating some of the things that are out there. I'm going to be very biased on this and say that I think I've provided the most fair and accurate assessment of this prelim. Again, I have a bias, but you guys can go and pull the clips and you can challenge me on any point that I've made, even the ones that were points of opinion. Officer Lou puts out, he's done a good job on social media. I like what he's been putting out, but he says autopsy on Charlie Kirk recovered 5 bullet fragments from his body. Analysis shows that they are all from the jacket of a 30 caliber round. No microphone shrapnel or related fragments were found. Now, one of the conversations that me and Brian had on the phone, and this is one of the ones I think we do agree on, is some good coffee, folks. And some of you, quite a few of you, not a lot, but quite a few of you have been buying the AlphaWarrior mug. AlphaWarrior.tv if you want one. It has this on the other side. Patriot. Get in the fight with coffee first. And it's a big mug. This ain't no little sissy mugs everybody else is on. This thing is solid. I've dropped it. I don't know if you can see my battle wound right about there. Some battle wound. You still can't chip this thing. But anyways, there's testimony in prelim that 7 fragments were recovered from the coroner. The ATF agent is saying they were provided with 5 fragments. So the question is, where's the other 2? Now, one of the things that the ATF expert also said, but they weren't really clear in this statement. I went back and listened to it, and it's still, you can hear it how you want is what it comes down to. But she also says, well, there was lead fragments, but she doesn't say if the lead fragments were the other 2 that she didn't have for this comparison. So I speculate that it is. And so what am I saying? When they went into, when they're doing the autopsy of Charlie Kirk's body, and they go and they start recovering the fragments from his body. Well, the lead is not going to be tested for anything because the lead part is inside the jacket of the bullet. And this is what the ATF agent testified to. So just understand, you have a bullet, and I wish I had one here that I could show you guys, but let's just, soft disclosure, make sure you use promo code alpha. Let's pretend this big ass chapstick. This damn thing's like the size of a shotgun shell. Check this out. Good chapstick. It's the same. I haven't had to buy a new one. That's how big this damn thing is. But let's just say that this is the bullet, right? Well, inside of this outside part, right? We'll say this is the copper jacket. Inside this bullet, right, where the chapstick is, that's where the lead portion of the bullet is. Well, that lead portion is not going to be tested for or ran through manipulation or anything that's microscopic to see if was this fired from that rifle? Because it's in the entire time that it's going through the barrel of the rifle or the gun, it's not making any contact with the gun. So with that, let me stop for a second and explain to you one of the things that's being tested. When you look down, and always before using any firearm, ensure that it is unsafe and that it is unloaded and that you're familiar with the weapon system before you do any type of checking. Safety is always paramount. If you're not familiar with the weapon system, please don't go and start, finger massaging the thing, okay? But if you're familiar with the weapon system, if you're confident that you've made it safe, and you were to look down the barrel of a rendered safe weapon, I want to be very clear about this, on a rifle, you would see these striations that look like a twist that go along the inside. That is known as the rifling. That is so when you're not going to see this in shotguns, so don't look in the shotguns. But like I said, with a rifle or a pistol, when you look inside, those lines, those striations, the rifling that's going through there, that is what's making the bullet start to pick up its spin when it comes out. Well, within not only the rifling of the gun, but sometimes within the gun, there's going to be certain things within that barrel that are going to make it have certain characteristics. So when that bullet's fired, that rifling is going to engrave itself on that bullet, right? Think of it kind of like a fingerprint. So forensics then gets these bullets. Let me see if the other picture. So right here in this picture, you see some lines. And it's still kind of hard to see. But what they do is they go and they will stretch this bullet out to the best form that they can. And then this is where they do that comparison analysis. So for those of you that were watching the preliminary hearing, you saw this line to this line, right? Because they went and fired a bullet through that, right? To where they can maintain the integrity of the test bullet and then compare that test bullet to the fragments that they have to see, is there enough here to overwhelmingly say that it is a high probability that this bullet was fired from that rifle? Hopefully I didn't confuse anybody. But the whole point that I'm trying to make, requested a bullet. the missus brought one. I don't know if she brought one to help me or if she brought one to threaten me. So make sure if something happens to me, you guys investigate. But this is so funny. Squirrel, right? Distraction. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if those fragments, that's what we're getting to, the fragments, the lead fragments, if those lead fragments are the 2 missing fragments, completely irrelevant to what's going on. That said, chain of custody should document this. And what does this probably look like? Coroner goes, gets the fragments, puts them in a little manila envelope, right? Either individually or as a group. Depends. It just depends. That gets sent to the case agent. The case agent is then going to verify that it's there. This is done with video. This is done with photographs at a minimum. And it's done with hey, I, agent, or Detective Luna on this date, at this time, at this location, open this up, and this is what I found. When I looked in there, I saw the fragments of the copper casing of the rifle, and I saw lead fragments. I sent the copper casing fragments to ATF to test. This would be documented. So what I'm saying is, if there is documented that 7 fragments were sent to the coroner, then why is ATF only having 5? It's not important so long as chain of custody identifies that the detectives and the case agents and the investigators received in whole from the coroner what was sent, because it means there's no break. And then as long as it's documented what was sent from the point of the detectives and the case agents to ATF. So again, we're going to have to wait and see what comes of that. Again, Officer Lou, this is what we're talking about. He goes, analysis shows that the arrow from the jacket of a 30 caliber round. I agree with this completely. No microfilm shrapnel. We talked about that. Phoenix Ammunition put this out there. This kind of goes into a lot of the theories of exit wounds, no exit wounds. So let me just read this because they did a pretty good job. Photos of the ammunition recovered from Tyler Robinson. Remington head stamp on the case, and just for you guys that are wondering what a head stamp is, here, this bullet will come in handy here. I don't know. Let me go full screen with me just so you guys can see. A head stamp is going to be, wish they would have brought me a rifle round, but I'm not going to judge them. A head stamp is, let me see. It's going to be too hard for you guys to see on this camera. It's not a good enough camera. But on the bottom of the bullet casing here, right here, that's going to be a head stamp. And it'll have the caliber, it'll have the branding, other information that'll be on there. So that's the head stamp for those that are curious. Remington head stamp on the case, and despite the somewhat low resolution on the photo, you can see the somewhat blunted nature of the projectile's tip. Projectile is going to be this part right here on the front, the tip. So pretty self-explanatory. This is a Remington Core-Loke soft point round. It's specifically designed to deform and slow down and prevent an exit wound. Available at literally every single gun store and sporting goods store that sells ammunition. People would ask, why would anybody ever want soft tip? Well, I can tell you guys a horrific story on, something bad from law enforcement running soft tip. But again, you'll get people that will use soft tip because they don't want it also, an exit wound means it's going to go into a wall, and you're responsible for the bullets that come out of your weapon systems. So if you fire a bullet at someone and that bullet goes through them and then through the wall and then hits somebody, you're responsible for that. And so people will use soft tips because the likelihood of it being a penetrating round is less likely. Nothing's definitive, but it's less likely. So, in fact, 16 out of the 17 30-06 varieties manufactured by Remington use some type of expanding, deforming, or fragmenting bullet. Only one of their product uses a full metal jacket projectile that could or would be expected to leave an exit wound. Here's a clip of them sitting in my desk. This has been the most easily debunked claim of the entire web of lies, and it's really mind-blowing considering that this is exactly what you would choose for an assassination. But yeah, definitely keep getting all your information from the DEI hire at the Portland Pizza Boy. I'm sure they would have more about this. And I think there's another image I have coming up here that shows a little bit better of the soft tip. Hold on, let me get a little head. Yeah, here we go. So this is a finger pointing at the deformed soft tip. Now, for those that have ran soft tips, just so you can understand, so those are people are probably wondering, well, how easily is it to deform the soft tips? When you're loading them into a magazine and they hit and you guys have done this, if you put it into aggressively and it hits the front of your magazine when you're loading it, that alone starts to deform the tip of the soft heads. So it's not very hard at all for those that are wondering. But let's go back here because I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Matt Tardio, he's done some good stuff. Don't agree with all of him, but I do agree with he's had some very solid points too. He goes, read the whole post. Tyler Robinson, ammo identified. Remington 30-06 Springfield, 150 grain Core-Loke, ballistics, gel penetration, 16.5 inches. Now, let's compare its 9mm 124 grain Federal Hydrox Shock ballistics gel penetration 15. I have personally seen a human shot in the face with hydroshock. No, it did not leave the back of the head. It didn't even bulge his eyeballs out. Sorry, it's graphic, folks, but we're talking about bullets and we're talking about shootings here. Our best estimate was about 4 inches of penetration. This is why you do not trust ballistics gel for accurate penetration of the human body. Here's my frustration with people that use ballistic gels is it's cool for videos, but it does not represent what happens. I'm telling you guys right now, I have seen people fire normal 5.56, 2.23 rounds at ballistic gels, and you're like, you see that thing penetrate deep, and you're like, oh man, if that was a person, it'd go right through them. I have had a partner shoot a suspect multiple times, and only one of them exit the body. And what chest, back to chest cavity, leg, 10 inches, maybe 11 inches. This was a skinny dude too, just for those wondering, it was skinny tweaker gangster guy. So just understand, folks, movies have corrupted the expectation of what happens in real gunfights. For example, that same guy that got shot multiple times by my partner wasn't bleeding out and squirting like you would see in the movies. Again, apologies for the graphic nature, but I'm trying to make a point here. As a matter of fact, it was very slow before you started to see blood pull into the parts where the entrance wounds were in his shirts. Granted, it's going to be different if you hit an artery, but again, different situation. But again, I'm just trying to make the point that movies and TV shows have really polluted people's minds on what actually happens when rounds hit somebody. But let's just keep going. It is perfectly reasonable for ammunition used by Tyler Robinson to have stopped inside Charlie Kirk. Misfit Patriot again puts out, these aren't Full Metal Jacket, they're soft points. You're an effing retard. He's talking to Ian Carroll right here, which is absolutely hilarious. But again, he's absolutely right. These are not Full Metal Jackets. These are soft tip rounds. And I'm trying to be conscious of the time because I know we're at an hour and 10 minutes here. So I'm going to kind of fly through this stuff. Nurse Kate says, this is a nurse. As a critical care nurse at a level 1 trauma hospital, I took care of countless GSWs, gunshot wounds. It was very rare to see an exit wound. In real life, when bullets hit bone, they fragment and create shrapnel. The shrapnel is often the most dangerous part of the gunshot wound because it lodges all over the body. It does. This isn't controversial. Ask anyone who works in trauma with gunshot wounds. And again, she's quote posting Phoenix's ammunition. Now let's get into the rifle, right? Kanoka the Great says, breaking, never before seen photos of Tyler Robinson's rifle. Law enforcement photos show that the rifle reportedly used to kill Charlie Kirk hidden in the woods, wrapped in a towel, and later placed into the evidence box. And I'll just zoom in right here so you guys can see. Well, here's a picture of it. You see it right there. Hopefully, oh, man, nobody even told me that I'm not showing you guys this stuff on the screen anymore. Nobody could yell at me. Hold on. I want to make sure I go back because I'm looking at it over here, and I don't know how much of these things you guys didn't see. So did you guys all see the bullet fragments, or did I jack up and not show you guys the bullet fragments? Let me see. I'm going to wait because I know you guys are about a 30-second, 40-second delay. So, oh, Susie Q-Chat says, Alpha, I've been to times up fired up into the show. So let's just go back and you guys, we'll just go to the letter. So you guys see the letter. Rock Cut says, well, come on, Alpha, you're supposed to know. No, nobody, hold on real quick. Let me see real quick. Well, you guys are catching up in the chat. I told you 55 minutes ago. All right, so we're just going to recap. I just want to make sure you guys have it on the screen. So we'll start at the letter. Here's the letter, just in case we didn't see that. Here's the zoomed in part of the letter. All right, let me just go so you guys can see it all. All right, I want to make sure for some of you guys that are recording, you get to see all this stuff. This is those bullet fragments. Bring those up on the screen one more time. Let me go through this stuff. All right. It ain't going to take long just to go through the photos. Not like I'm going to recap everything. Then we get into here, right? There's the head stamp. There's the round. There's the soft tip right in between the 4 and 3. You guys can see my cursor. Right there's a soft tip. There's the box of ammo, the branding. There's the one he's using an example to give you more clarity of what the soft tip looks like. Okay. And just for you guys to know, all right, you know, when you guys hear Marines yell, you know, it's in a magazine, not a clip. Okay, this is actually a clip. So when you're always wondering, well, where do clips come from? This is actually a clip. All right, so stop confusing clips with magazines. And then again, let's go to these photos real quick just so you guys can see. And I think there's Misfit Patriot pointing at it. We went through those already. Okay, so now we're to the rifle. So everybody's caught up. All right, get your specs right. It's so clear for me because I'm looking on the other monitors. My apologies, folks. Rookie mistakes. But now we're all caught up, right? Somebody could have sent in. Hold on, let me see before I say. Somebody could have sent in a Rumble rant. That would have got my attention. Yes, there's some Rumble rants came in. We'll get to those. All right. So again, here's the rifle wrapped in the towel inside the bushes. You can now see it on my cursor. And then again, this is the rifle now in the evidence box, still wrapped in the towel. And then this is the rifle without the towel. Now, I want to address something that's on social media where people are showing, look, they're showing different weapons. It's not the same weapon. Right here, you're looking at this side of the weapon. So you see, you don't see the bolt handle because that's on the other side. So the other image that's going around where people are like, this is a different weapon system. No, it's not. It's the other side because they're trying to highlight on the glass, the scope that's here, that is different. It's because you're looking at the other side of the scope, which is the side that has the bolt. So that's an easy debunk right there. But again, this is the rifle that's been collected into evidence that is presumed to have been the murder weapon. Now let's get into this. Andrew Covett says, here are the images of the text message exchange between Tyler Robinson and Lance Twiggs, which includes his confession and attempt to retrieve his rifle. I'm going to bring these up so you guys can see, and then I'm going to open this image in a tab so you can see even bigger. So right here you have on the first one, 7 p.m. That will work for you. Yep. I love you. And then it says, love you too. I hope work's going well. I love you. This is so gross. Moi, moi. I love your morcillos. Moi, moi. That's okay. And then here we go. Wednesday, 11 p.m. Drop what you are doing. Look under my keyboard. Now, according to Lance Twiggs, this to bring everybody up to speed. Lance Twiggs says that the first message that he gets from Tyler Robinson after the shooting is this 11 p.m. text message. I just want to make sure people understand that. So he says, drop what you're doing, look under the keyboard. This is what's going to corroborate Lance Twiggs' story that we talked about earlier. Lance responds, what? You're joking, right? He goes, I fucking tried to delete that. Okay, now let's go in. Let me delete this one. Let's go into the next one. Let me open this one up so you guys can see it. So let's continue. I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. You weren't the one who did it, right? That's Lance Twiggs. Tyler, I am. I'm sorry. Lance, I thought they caught the person. Tyler, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude. They interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Again, when you corroborate this, the metadata with the cell phone provider and the Salary Bright stuff, this, folks, along with that letter, is what is definitely going to have him cooked more or as equal to that surveillance footage. Let's go to the next one. There's two more. Let me zoom in on this one for you guys. But I don't want to chance it while they are parked there. If they had found it, I'd imagine there would be more commotion. Again, I'm so sorry for roping you into all of this. You shouldn't have to worry about this. Now, let me talk about this statement here. And the reason this statement here is important because this is the statement that weighs heavily on my position on why Lance Twiggs, the furry, took the screenshot. What is he saying here? I'm so sorry for roping you in all this. Now imagine for 1 second you're the weirdo furry and your boyfriend, your lover, just assassinated a high-profile person, and you know it's all over the news. And now he's saying, by sending you these text messages and leaving you a note, I'm roping you in. Would you panic? Ask yourself, would you panic if someone who just committed an assassination is saying, I'm sorry for roping you in? What are you going to be like? The hell you mean? I wasn't part of this. I didn't help you plan it. I didn't do this shit. I didn't rope you in. You are going to start trying to think of, how do I protect myself if this guy gets caught or turns himself in? How do I prove that I'm not a part of this? You're going to screenshot that letter that he wants you to destroy. But again, let's continue on. You shouldn't have to worry about this. Lance, does anyone else know? Tyler, not to my knowledge. It's going to be real fucking annoying if I can't get this thing till like 3, then have to drive back and still go into work. Now, again, this statement, mark my words, folks, mark my words. When it comes to making the argument for death penalty, this statement is going to be used in the case. Clip this right now. When they make the argument for the death penalty, they're going to say he was a cold-blooded killer who was more concerned with being tired to go into work than the fact that he just took someone's life. This statement is going to be used and read over and over for the argument for the death penalty. Again, to read it to you guys, it's going to be real fucking annoying if I can't get this thing till like 3 and then have to drive back and still going to work. Lance, you're sure they aren't waiting to see if anyone comes to collect the gun? Let me scroll down. I've gone close enough that they would have jumped me if they were waiting, and they would probably be more concerned when pulling the prints off of it. So, and let's go to the last one. Let me close this one out. Let me open this to make it bigger so I can read it and show it to you guys. The last from the text message. Needless to say, I'm going to be late coming home, my B. Just stay safe. I will. I'm more worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. This part's going to be important because this is going to help corroborate that the rifle they found is his. He was in possession of it when they get to, because we didn't hear this in the prelim because you don't have to, but was there other DNA that was discovered on that rifle? Did that DNA come back to his father? Did that DNA come back to his grandfather? We don't know. These are things that I'm just speculating. But if they did, these are things that are, again, going to corroborate that the text message here is referencing the rifle that was found on scene. It would seem like common sense. I agree with you guys. But again, this is one of those things that it's not just about being common sense. It's proving that this is indeed the weapon system. So then he goes, he's far scarier than any Fed NGL. Not going to lie. Guess I'm just sitting in my car watching reels for another hour, hoping this guy fucks off. And then right here, are you okay still? Yes. Check and spot again. Now will. Now these statements are important because again, when they pull the metadata and when they pull all the information provided from the service provider, if those things corroborate these statements, then he's cooked. All right, let's fly through the rest of this. Like Nefting says, an absolutely outrageous moment in court defense. So this right here. So you have the defense attorney that comes up. And I remember hearing this too. And I was like, you are an asshole. If you guys remember, if you guys have been watching this since Monday when I did day 1, Erica Kirk and the family came out and said, hey, just so you guys know, we are not going to be commenting on this as we go through this. And they didn't. They didn't. So now understanding that, listen to this clip because I have it for you guys.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Turning to the parties, starting with the state, Mr. Grunander.
Thank you, Judge. The state does not oppose publishing 12.4 in the courtroom. I think we've tried to make it very clear throughout this case that we favor openness and transparency as much as appropriate. I'll submit it on that.
Thank you, Mr. Gernander. To defense, Mr. Burt.
My apologies, that's 12.1, not 12.4.
Thank you.
Judge, at this point in the proceeding, we're asking the court to keep focus on the purpose of this hearing. And as the justices said in the Estes case, the purpose of a trial, and I know this isn't a trial, but the same logic applies, is to determine the defendant's guilt. It's not to educate the public or the victim's family or the world on what evidence the government or the state has. As the court knows, we have witness availability problems. We spent the bulk of today and yesterday arguing about nothing to do with the evidence in the case, but with rights of third parties. And it's appropriate for the court to consider that. But at some point, I think the court has to return to the purpose of these hearings, which is to expeditiously hear the evidence and then determine probable cause. And I want to point out to the court, Ms. Kirk has been very adept at holding press conferences at which she has revealed evidence. She has represented that the state is her attorney. She has access to all the evidence that the state has publicized and that the media and her own lawyer argues is already in the public domain. So they're perfectly free to go outside this courtroom under the court's protective order. They're free to go out and hold press conferences and announce to the world outside the courtroom what they think the evidence is. They have the availability of that evidence. But the court's role, I think, at some point is to exercise some control, move the case forward, and especially when we have witness availability problems. And I'd ask the court, whatever the court does, if you're going to allow revisiting or replaying of evidence for the sole purpose of informing the world or Ms. Kirk or anybody else, that the court do it at the end of the process and not at this point where we will be deprived of our ability to call this witness, because she has to be done today.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd.
Thank you.
Briefly, and I say that because time is of the essence, not because I don't want to hear what you have to say.
I understand, but there was a lot that was just said that's just not true.
Well, so let me put this in the spot where we need to be. And I understand that there's opinions, but I have to keep this to the probable cause. I don't want this to go to a back and forth about issues that lie outside of probable cause. And I realize statements are made, and as the victim's representative attorney, you want to address it. So I will hear you, but we need to be brief. So if you can be succinct, I definitely want to hear what you have to say.
Your Honor, I am almost always brief, I promise you. The family has not seen this video. It hasn't. It doesn't have access to the evidence the state has. The state is the state, and Mrs. Kirk and the family have their representatives. There's a completely distortion of reality that was just put forth. And this isn't about educating anybody about anything. This is about allowing the family to see the evidence that's been gathered after a 10-month investigation in which a husband was assassinated. That's what this is about. So we ask you to please allow the family to view the video like the court has viewed in order to allow the family to process this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further before the court issues its ruling and we go from there?
Again, Erica Kirk nor the family made any statements during this trial. So yes, that was a blatant lie by the defense. And I will say this, up until that point, the defense had run a really legitimate defense. They did their job. They did their job as the defense. That part right there, obviously, there was a lot of shade being thrown that was not factual. Let's keep flying through this. Ali J. Kiss puts, of course they collected it. She's not even watching the effing hearing. Here is the witness literally explaining how Lance Twiggs' phone was collected and extraction was performed using Celebrate. She's referencing Candace Owens making this statement on July the 9th. The police just took a picture of Lance's phone, guys. Biggest assassination since JFK, and they decided not to collect it and store it into evidence. Just trusted him and took a couple of pics for Insta. And now Lance has immunity. That's the most retarded statement because anybody listening saw. And here's the other thing. We would never just take photos of that because you need the metadata to support that. You need the extraction information to support that. But I'm going to let you guys hear this yourself.
How did law enforcement get this photograph?
So following Lance's first interview at St. George PD, his phone is recovered at that point, taken into evidence. It is downloaded, I believe it was the following day or shortly after that. The FBI transported that phone to the RCFL, which is the Regional Computer Forensic Laboratory in Salt Lake City. The phone was downloaded through Celebrite, and after that, following that download was complete, SBI received a flash drive containing that download. From there, it went to a SIAC analyst to go through that data of his phone to look for any pertinent evidence or information that may be on there. And at that point, that this image of this letter was located.
All right, I'm going to break down a few things. You mentioned, I just want to make sure the record's clear. You mentioned Celebrite a few times. What is Celebrite?
It's a downloading software that's commonly used by law enforcement. I don't do that myself, but it's commonly used to recover data, to download electronic devices, particularly cell phones.
And then you mentioned SIAC. What does that mean?
It's the Statewide Information Analysis Center. It's a division within DP.
So again, Candace out there pushing slop to her cronies who are eating this up. And for those of you that have been following my assessments and shows that I've done regarding the Charlie Kirk thing, I told you before we've ever even got to prelim how Cellubrite was going to be used. I've let you guys know how it works. I've used it in the past. So again, it's Candace Owens slop. That's the quickest statement. Speaking of Candace Owens slop, here's a little bit more. Candace Owens puts these two posts out there. You honestly cannot make this up. Footage of Tyler Robinson turning himself into the police does not exist. The footage simply does not exist anymore, or maybe it never existed in the first place. You decide. Then we saw footage of him turning himself in. Then we get her next one. No, Blake Sneff, you want every single episode of my show, and therefore, or you watch every single episode of my show, and therefore know exactly what my stance is, so don't play obtuse. Blakely, I do not believe the footage of him turning himself in is a body double. I believe the footage on and around the campus of people in similar maroon shirts. For those of you who are still subscribed to the slop that Candace and Ian and everybody else put out there, I'm just going to tell you politely, I love you, but you are absolutely retarded at this point. If you're believing it, if you're watching it to make fun of her or just to understand the narrative, I'm there with you. But if you actually believe it, you're retarded. Then as we start to wrap up day 4, Andrew Colvett puts, see, your big problem is that the entire thing is not about you, Candace. It's about Charlie. It's about Erica. It's about his kids and his legacy. But time and time again, you've hijacked Charlie's story by smearing and slandering his wife, his organization, and his friends, and countless other people. Now you're even crashing out with the I'm not suicidal nonsense. It's not about you, Candace. And yes, I have questions. I always had them. I've voiced them publicly before, but unlike you, I choose to not recklessly smear innocent people, organizations, companies, and the entire countries without actual proof of wrongdoing. You, by contrast, target innocent people, ruin their lives for sport, inspire a wave of harassment and death threats against them before predictably moving on to your next harebrained theory when that one collapses. You literally manufacture content for your next show. It's truly one of the most vile, disgusting displays in the history of the internet. Record-breaking levels of idiocy and wickedness combined in one person. You've attempted to appropriate everyone else's grief and honest searching and replaced it with Egyptian planes and exploding mics. What an awful trade for the country and the world. You're a record-breaking narcissist, Candace, but your credibility is also collapsing at record-breaking speed. Enjoy the crash out. This is true. You guys know me. I go into the tunnels of a lot of the opposition rooms, and there are a lot of people that are just trashing on her and Ian now. And guess what? It's well deserved. And then the last one from day 4, Sean Strickland. You guys know I've been throwing some shade at this guy because of the stupidity he's put out there. But even Sean Strickland came out and put this post. I like conspiracy theory as much as the next guy, but Tyler shot Kirk. It is weird, yes. Should you ask questions? Yes. But all the evidence points to it being the kid, anyone watching the trial. So this part right here, day 5, we're going to fly through it real fast. Erica, California 47 puts, they have zoomed in footage of Tyler Robinson prone. She meant to put prone on the roof when he took the shot. It's over. Let me play this clip for you. This has become the most controversial thing in the last 2.5 days.
The Tyler Robinson hearing has adjourned for the day and for the entire hearing at the noon hour today. The defense finished with their final DNA witness from the ATF. After that, the judge allowed the family to view, without it being broadcast, the zoomed-in surveillance video from Utah Valley University. The quality was surprisingly high, a lot more detail you could see of the man that is reportedly Tyler Robinson making his way through campus, up and down the stairs, into the parking garage, and even zoomed in on the roof where you can see the man who is reportedly Robinson lying down into that prone position before the shots were fired. As that came up on that video, that zoomed in video, Erica Kirk breaking down in tears, as well as Catherine, her mother-in-law, Charlie's mother, clinging to each other, hugging each other as that video played out. I can't imagine what that would be like to see those final moments before your loved one died. Extremely emotional end to the court day. This will essentially be court out until September 1st. That's when some final arguments will be made. The judge will decide if this will be bound over for trial, and Tyler Robinson will finally have his chance, if it is, to plead guilty or innocent in this case. We're waiting outside the courtroom right now for the family members and others to leave the courtroom to see if any of them would like to talk after this hearing. We'll post them online as soon as that happens.
So, again, there are people, including some of my friends, who are showing clips from the courtroom and saying this is not high quality footage. Again, folks, you're making an assessment of a computer monitor on the prosecution or the defense's desk from a camera that's recording it from a distance, that's then showing it to the internet, or then we're seeing it and then rebroadcasting it. No, you cannot speak to the quality of the image. The people that were present can speak to the quality of the image. And we're seeing people that are saying it was definitely high quality, and then we're seeing people that are saying it was not high quality. I can speak to what people have told me, but I can't tell you the quality of it. So what I will say is I'll tell people to do this. Go research the video software that the FBI uses. A5 is one of them, or I believe the actual name of it's AMP5, and I think they even offer civilian versions of it. The FBI has always, well, I won't say always, but for a very long time, so long as I've been in this career, so from 2005 at least, the FBI has always had software that is able to enhance video that would surprise the shit out of you folks. Okay, we have sent video to them where they can remove grain, they can remove noise, it can bring something where you're like, what the hell does that say to it? Definitively, that's what it says. They have the ability to do this. So, again, I want to say AMP5 or A5 is what I know a lot of people call it. I believe the correct term is AMP5. You can go research that yourself. What I will say is this. If hypothetically someone had provided information that says that Tyler Robinson coming through the parking structure and then up to a staircase that leads up to the point where you now see him jumping the roof, and that this is corroborated by timestamps, and that video that's been enhanced in the parking structure shows a clear profile of his face and side profile of his face that definitively shows that that person wearing those clothes at that time marker is Tyler Robinson. And then you have CCTV footage that shows seconds later, that person climbing over the roof, that's in the exact vicinity of where that interior camera caught him, and then he's jumping over, and the clothing's the same, the height is the same, the body width is the same. You're able to argue that. And then again, you can use other circumstances, again, such as cell phone data and all that other stuff to corroborate it. But again, if you show that person, and then that video, it's enhanced, shows that person getting into the prone position, maybe assembling a rifle, right? And then taking aim, and then you see a muzzle flash, and that muzzle flash is consistent with the other cameras that captured the murder of, Charlie Kirk taking the hit to his body. Yes, folks, that is footage then of Tyler Robinson making the shot. And again, this is information that's going to be corroborated by more stuff going to trial. I think that is the most fair way I could present that. That's, not weighing it one way or the other. So we'll leave that part there. Paramount Tactical says he's responding to Ian Carroll. Ian Carroll puts, Gary, I normally try not to point it out, but I remember why I got this one for you guys, because I wanted to show the mentality of Ian, who I would imagine also, in my opinion, represents the opinion of Candace. But Ian Carroll puts, Gary, I normally try not to point it out, but look at the size of your audience, buddy. I'm going to be just fine. Paramount Tactical says, I don't care about the size of my audience or yours. Popularity isn't the arbiter of truth. Joe Biden has 37 million followers. So are you going to be a man and admit that you lied about the rifle and the stock photo or not? This is what I wrote. Let me translate what Ian and Candace are saying. This is my opinion. I put, Gary, Candace and I being Ian, knew exactly what would happen when Charlie Kirk cash grab finally collapsed. We calculated the fallout, priced in the audience losses, and decided that they were expendable. The money was already made, and the remaining followers were too loyal, too gullible, or too invested to recognize that they had been treated as nothing more than a revenue stream, because that is exactly what's unfolding. Benny Johnson's post, just witnessed something and again, this is Benny Johnson's opinion of what he witnessed. Just witnessed something at Charlie Kirk's assassination pretrial in Utah that has not been made public yet, and you need to hear about it. Erica Kirk asked for us to be here today. We sat inside the small courthouse in Provo with the family. The judge told the media to turn off all cameras and allowed the full enhanced footage of the murder to play. Every movement of Tyler Robinson that day captured in full quality, HD, zoomed in. Some footage in 4K, tracking all his movements. You can see crystal clear Tyler Robinson's face, the license plate number on his vehicle, details on his clothing, and his actions on the rooftop. Now, for my friends who I'm not going to name that are saying that the segment from day 3 is what the family was presented, in none of those days, in none of those days did we get video that clearly showed license plates. We saw videos of the car coming in, but again, you saw it was hard to distinguish that. Again, there's clarity that was done to make sure you could read these plates. I just want to remind people of that. What the public couldn't see was the emotion in the courtroom. Well, hold on, let me go back to finish that sentence. You can see crystal clear Tyler Robinson's face, the license plate number on his vehicle, details on his clothing, and his actions on the rooftop. And you can see and you can time every horrifying detail to the minute Charlie Kirk was murdered. What the public couldn't see was the emotion in the courtroom. Charlie's family sobbing uncontrollably. Erica in Mrs. Kirk's senior's arms. Charlie's father comforting them. Just feet away sat a pale, lifeless, emaciated Tyler Robinson, who stared at the floor with no remorse as he listened to the weeping. Robinson has never once looked at Erica this entire trial. The entire courthouse grasped when the video was over. Eventually, this footage will be released. It was really tough to relive that day in such gruesome detail. This case is overwhelming. Please pray for a speedy trial. And to all the tormentors of the Kirk family, you can go to hell where you belong. We pray for justice for Charlie. Let me get through these and then I'll provide you assessment. So Brittany Ray put this out. The new footage will show a different angle of this. If you guys remember, this is the video, and I'm going to make this bigger. If you guys remember, this is the video that we have seen from when it was released. And this is good quality right here. It ain't the best, but this is good quality. And this is without enhancements, folks. I am telling you, I have had far shittier quality video that was enhanced, that was just mind-blowing. Imagine what they can do to a video like this that already has decent quality. Just wanted you guys to think about that. And then Matt Tardil says, well, this is awkward. Not for me, though. I have a brain. Inside the Wire puts high-quality footage shown in the courtroom. Tyler Robinson taking the shot at Charlie Kirk. And then again, I want to play this. Real America's Voice had on Viva Fry. And I've been kind of monitoring Viva's take on this. You know, sometimes, and I think me and him are also going to be doing a kind of a debrief of this pretty soon. But I want to play this clip to kind of wrap this up, and then I'll provide you some final thoughts, and then we'll get into the bonus content tonight here in just a few. So let's take a listen to Viva. This is about 5 minutes, but I think you guys will enjoy this.
But there have been people saying from the get-go, on the one hand, the laughably insane theory, it was never a bullet, it was an exploding lapel mic. Now you have the testimony that it was a fragmented bullet, a Remington soft tip bullet. Remember when everyone was saying a 30-06 never behaves like that. A 30-06 always would go through anybody's body, you know, with the exception of Martin Luther King, save, you know, a complicated trajectory in Martin Luther King. But, you know, then people don't believe the official narrative for Martin Luther King either. Now we understand it's a soft tip bullet, which is intended to expand on impact, which would explain the increased probability of the absence of an exit wound. And then you have Lance Twiggs, you know, Tyler Robinson's furry trans lover, who the defense was fighting tooth and nail to not allow this video evidence as admissible because they wanted to cross-examine Lance on the video testimony, which would otherwise qualify as hearsay, which is admissible at a stage of preliminary hearing for probable cause. It's an avalanche in the sense that we now have confirmation it was a bullet. The nature of the bullet, which might account for why some people are saying 30-06 always leaves an exit wound, not if it's intended to expand on impact to limit the possibility of an exit wound, as in the soft tip Remington bullet. And then you have Lance Twiggs saying, he engraved the bullets. He asked me to engrave the bullets. I didn't ask him why he was engraving bullets for a hunting trip. I believe Lance is involved, but set that aside. Then the night of September 10, I get an automated text saying, check under my keyboard. Then Lance on video under oath, penalty of perjury, because that matters to some people sometimes, says, I picked up the message and it was a written note saying that whole lengthy nonsense, insane explanation for why he had to do it. Then he goes to bed. And then his lover doesn't come home that night. And then his lover comes home the next day and says, did you really do it? And while, you know, Tyler is like doing things around the house to distract himself, it's an avalanche. And if you view it as Lance Twiggs saying what he needs to say to incriminate his lover and exonerate himself, which I'm sure was the plan all along. I don't think Tyler Robinson wanted to incriminate Lance in all of this. It makes a whole hell of a lot more sense what Lance testified to today. But the bottom line, the testimony itself was damning on the one hand and laughably stupid when it comes to, I had no idea what he was doing. He just asked me to engrave some bullets for a hunting trip. So I told him where the Dremel tool was because, you know, we're drug addicts playing games all day long.
And by the way, And Viva, I have to say, right, it's ridiculous, but also the fact that what is on these, hey, fascist, catch, and then, oh, Bella Ciao. Bella Ciao is the anthem of Antifa. This is not some random reference, and it's certainly not a reference to a video game. It is the anthem of Antifa, since it's a World War II communist song that if you are in the leftist community, you are very familiar with. If you are outside of that community, you might ask, what is that? Why is he writing Oh Bella Ciao? So again, these are specific in-group references that are being placed here. Not only are they political in nature, they are violent and revolutionary inherently in nature.
No, but there's no question about that. And as if someone says, I'm going hunting, I'd like the Dremel tool to engrave messages on the bullets for a deer. All right, dude. That makes as much sense as when a child tries to lie to an adult and an adult says, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Do you think I'm stupid? So he's also engraving, like you say, messages that only make sense within a small Discord group of individuals who are heavily involved in gaming or other, trans furry minded activities. So the problem is, I don't deny and I don't doubt that by the evidence that we've seen before us that Tyler took the shot. And I've never been one to say a 30-06 always necessarily without exception leaves an exit. If there's an exception to it, then you've admitted of the possibility. Now I feel affirmed in my beliefs that Lance Twiggs knew what was going on. Others involved knew what was going on, at least knew what was being planned. They turned a blind eye to it. And then the next day, they turned an active eye to concealing and allowing, or at least trying to abet in the escape of the man who admitted he did it 12 hours earlier, comes back, and then they say, how can we help you get out of this mess, my love? That's what was going on. How Lance has not been charged is beyond me, but alas, I'm not prosecuting this. I appreciate it's a use immunity, meaning only for the statement, and if they can prove a crime by other means, he can still be charged for that. But this confirms basically what a lot of us were saying from the beginning. Lance was in on it. Other people knew what was going on. Tyler, in all likelihood, took the shot, succeeded in the shot, and then had people trying to cover up and allowing him to escape the next day.
So, again, like I said, I like Viva's approach on this, but I do disagree with him and others on Lance. Now, before you all start freaking out, let me tell you from a detective's perspective why. And again, I can only base this information off the limited scope of information we've been provided. When I read the letter and the text message conversation between Tyler Robinson and Lance, what you derive from that conversation there, and again, it's fluid, it's uninterrupted. What you derive from that is Lance being shocked by what Tyler Robinson just did. That response, along with Tyler saying, I had the opportunity and I did this. But here's the most important thing. This is the one statement that's key that shows that Lance Twiggs didn't have involvement with the killing. When Tyler says, I was hoping to keep this a secret, that means this is something that Lance was not aware of or other people. Now, do I believe Lance when he says that the only political conversations we had was just about Trump? Bullshit. No, I don't buy that. Do I think based on their furry relationship and the whole tranny lifestyle and all that stuff, that they absolutely had conversations about Charlie Kirk and other stuff? Absolutely. I'm not buying that. But what I'm saying is what you can derive from the letter, from the text message, and from the statements he provided to the investigator. And again, from Tyler Robinson's own messages in that letter, not just what Lance's explanation is, but his is that they weren't aware of it. So then why would Lance need immunity? Now, this is where things change. I think after the homicide happened, there was things that Lance probably did. For instance, when Lance burnt the letter, that is destruction of evidence. That's a confession letter. That is destruction of evidence. Because he knows that this person just confessed to killing someone and you are now destroying evidence involved with that homicide. Again, is there other things involved where maybe there's other messages we're going to learn about where he says, well, I can pick you up here, or we can do this with the towel, or we can, there's a lot of speculation there. But again, I think the immunity stuff is going to be related to actions Lance or maybe even others took after the homicide happened. So again, just to make sure, this is where I have a disagreement with Viva and others, is that no, I don't believe Lance was involved in the planning of this event. So with that, I think, is there any one more? Yes, I do want to read this and then I'll give you guys my final thoughts and we'll get into the bonus part of the show. This comes from Erica Kirk. Statement on behalf of the Kirk family, and this happened day 5 following the closing of the prelim. Statement on behalf of the Kirk family. The conclusion of the preliminary hearing marks an important step forward in the pursuit of justice for Charlie. Our family is grateful for prayers, support, and kindness that has been extended to us, especially through these unimaginably painful and emotionally demanding proceedings. As difficult as these last few days have been, it brings our family comfort to know that the world has witnessed the overwhelming evidence of what occurred to Charlie that day. Nothing will ever undo the loss of our beloved Charlie. As this case moves into its next phase, we pray that truth will continue to be heard through a process that is fair, transparent, and grounded in facts. That would have been at 3:28 p.m. Eastern. That's 1:28 Pacific for those of you that are looking at that. With that, let me go full screen with me. Let me remove that. And before we get into the bonus content, let me just go through some of my notes, just because I want to recap all this stuff to make sure. So day 4, main things we're talking about: exhibit 16, 16.1, 16.2, 16.3. These are the text message. This is the Discord stuff. This is Lance talking about Tyler Robinson crying to him, saying he'd wish he had not done it. Here's some important stuff, just in case some of you weren't familiar with it. Tyler Robinson stayed the night with Twigs on September the 9th, then left early in the morning, September the 10th. This is the day of the homicide. And then their next message together wasn't until 11 p.m. On September the 10th. And this is the messages that we saw that I read. We talked about, or Viva brought up the engraving of the bullets, asking for the Dremel tool. Put in context, they asked Lance Twix roughly about how long before that happened. His initial answer was, he goes, I don't know. So then the case agent says, well, like a year ago? And he goes, no, not that long ago, probably about a month before the homicide happened. Let's see. Any other notes? They asked him, they showed him the photos. This is some of the stuff that we did get to see. They showed him the photos that showed Tyler Robinson at the bottom of the stairway and the side angle profile of the stairway. And Lance Twiggs says the 2 bottom photos definitely look like Tyler Robinson. He described it. He described the shoes that he has. Again, you saw, I played the video clip. Celebrite was used on Twiggs' phone, which will confirm these. The text messages, again, the letter under the keyboard. Then we get into the following day. So the following day was more of the DNA stuff, and then it was more of the ATF. Pretty much what the defense was doing on day 5. Like I said, day 5, outside of the video footage, was really, I think the judge gave the defense so much leeway here, just because of the fumble of showing and publishing to the public the video, the letter that shouldn't have been shown. So I think that's why they gave them so much leeway. But a lot of it was getting into the can these people, are the experts qualified experts? I guess that's the easiest way to say it. And that's something, again, that'll be argued when it comes to the trial. The defense was trying to bring up, well, this group has said that the policy and procedure you rely on has this error rate. And again, that is not for the purposes of probable cause. The prosecution gets the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that stuff. So it was a lot of that. And ultimately what you found out, and here's the thing, and this is where I think it's going to backfire on the defense. For those of you that watch the prelim and saw the striations and the comparison that ATF did with the bullets, what you saw, because it doesn't take a genius in these zoomed images, you're looking at the sample bullet that was fired through the rifle, and you're looking at the bullet that was recovered in Charlie Kirk's body, the fragments, right? And they explain the process, how they elongate it in order to do the analysis and the comparison. And they showed the lines, and it showed the lines that were high probability, and then it showed the ones where they would engage it. But for me and you, using our eyes, we're like, yes, it's the same it's the same trajectory marks. Hell yeah, that's the same bullet. And here's the thing. You saw the expert saying, we qualified those, but the ones that all me and you were watching saying those qualify too. You saw them say, those don't meet the threshold for what we qualify. So what does that do? So for everybody who actually watched day 5 and saw the analysis of the bullet fragments, you walked away thinking, man, they're way too kind to the defense and suspects in these, because damn right those bullets were there. And what did she say? It was too smeared here, but you can see the other end of the smear, those lines, and you saw they lined up. So I actually think that was a huge, even though they try to use it to kind of impeach her ability to be an expert, which the judge didn't go for. I think the fact that, we all got to see that and saw what they considered quality versus not quality is going to allow us that, again, if it goes to jury trial and the jury goes into deliberation and they use the bullet fragment photos and analysis as part of that, a lot of us are going to be able to walk away with be like, yeah, that's damn well that's definitely righteous. I mean, it definitely meets the expectation of, way beyond reasonable doubt, right? Let's see. And I think final notes other than that, that was it. Just I wanted to make sure I put a note here. 17. There was a lot of 17s in this trial, folks. Again, this is the assessment for day 4 and day 5. I hope you guys appreciated it. I hope I was able to explain this in a way where you guys understood it. If there was things you didn't understand, please ask me in the comments. If it's regarding things from other days, again, hopefully tomorrow, if not sometime early this week, I'm going to pull all the videos, day 1, day 2, day 3, and then tonight's portion of 4 and 5. And I'm going to put those into one video that's going to have the entire analysis and assessment that I provided of the prelim. For those of you that missed it, I will do my best to try to have that ready for you tomorrow. If not early this week, I'll definitely have that ready for you guys. With that, let me rock one of these ads real quick for Rumble, and then we'll get into the bonus footage. So, folks, if you've got a dog at home, you already know that they're more than just the pet. They're part of the family. They're your best friend. Well, it turns out America's founding fathers felt the exact same way. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and several of the men who helped build this country all had loyal dogs by their side. Some even traveled with them during the Revolutionary War and were for some incredible moments in American history. When I found that out, I thought, that's actually a really cool way to get kids interested in history. And it turns out a company called The Kids Guide is already doing this. They have a guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Furry Friends, and it shares the true stories of the remarkable dogs that belong to America's founders. It's beautifully illustrated, easy for kids to enjoy, and it teaches them about the people who shaped our country through the stories of their companions that they love most. Let's be honest, getting kids excited about history isn't always easy, but tell them that they're about to learn about George Washington's dog. Now you've got their attention. I thought it was a very genuinely clever idea, and if you've got kids or even grandkids who love dogs, I think that they'll all have a lot of fun with it. They're running a special offer right now that includes a kid's guide to the Founders' Furry Friends and some other freebies. If it sounds like something your family would enjoy, just head over to freeusadoggift.com. That's freeusadoggift.com. And again, that QR code's on the screen. That link will be down in the description. And with that, folks, this next segment, have you ever wondered, is there a way to extend my life? Aside from, stop eating like crap, aside from working out, aside from all the ritual things that we do, are there things that can legitimately help me extend my life? I think you're going to really find this next conversation fascinating. You're going to recognize these faces as I bring Doc and Ron Oliver onto the screen. Folks, this is going to conclude the live portion of our show. Do me a solid if you haven't done so already. Push the thumb. Oh, we got Rumble Rants. But push the thumb. Or smash the thumb, push the heart, leave a comment, and share this out. Let's get to these Rumble Rants that came through. I got to make sure I read these. Or you're going to be like, I ain't going to freaking send Alpha anymore. Dang, we actually got quite a few Rumble Rants tonight. Thank you. First one coming in, $17. Keck from Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter. Props for a Saturday night show. Love you, kid. Appreciate that, Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter. $5 coming in from Q Patriot Angel. Thanks, Alpha, for helping me find the mug I inquired about a few weeks ago. Love it. Right on. I'm glad you enjoyed that. If you post a picture, tag me and I'll share it out there. $2 coming in from the Meerkat. I had a problem with the rifle in my pants at first, but after that roof jump, it seems it either has extra limb or something's long in a black tower jacket. Blurry image though. I hear you, Meerkat. I hear you. I'm glad you're coming around. $5 again from Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter. $5 challenge to everyone. Alpha is doing a Saturday night show, working 7 days a week. Props. That's the way the business is. We got to save this country, right? $5 coming from Illinois Danny. $5 challenge accepted. Check. Time for my old ass to fall asleep and listen to this whole thing in the AM. Thanks for the breakdown on this. Thank you guys for giving me your time tonight. And dollar for dollar coming in from Victoria OB. Not expecting this. News just broke that Lindsey Graham died from a brief and sudden illness. Hold on. Now I got to go and verify this, because if you guys are jiving me on this, it's because we know these fake deaths always get reported. So give me 1 second, folks, as I go and pull this. Okay, Bloomberg is reporting it. NBC News is reporting it. Washington. Holy shit, folks. Holy shit. Holy shit. Bloomberg is not one that's going to put out a fake one. And Calibre Alpha, it's confirmed. Lindsey Graham, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham dies at 71 after sudden illness. 71 and tonight's 7-11, depending when he died. Wow. Ladybug Lindsey, folks. This is going to... Okay, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm sure we're going to talk about this on the shows tomorrow. For those of you that are unaware, tomorrow, the Middle East in 30 minutes-ish with Ghost, half an hour early. So at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, and then again, Q After Hours at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. You guys can do the math for Central and Mountain. So again, thank you for giving me that information, Victoria. So Lindsey Graham no longer with us. This is, oh man, I'm gonna be up late game theorying this one out. And then let me see if any more super chats came in. No more super chats came in, but shout out to our new family member over there on YouTube with KSJ Hawk 62. Thank you for joining the family again, folks. Enjoy this next part of the show, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Good night. God bless, and Semper Fi. Folks, welcome to the show. Today's interview is going to be about Neutronics Labs, the world's leader in IGF-1 derived from deer antler velvet extract. Our guest today, you've seen him here before, Dr. Bruce Fong, the medical director of Neutronics Labs and also the medical director of Sierra Integrative Medical Center in Reno, Nevada. Also with us is my brother, Ron Oliver, who is a fitness coach and the coach of many professional athletes, such as world champion boxer Roy Jones Jr. Great memories watching that guy. Ron, before we get into the science and the products, I just want to kind of set the stage here. As we age, and I hate to admit it, but I'm aging, and you have changed my mind on we don't got to age gracefully. We can keep ourselves as young as we can, but many people start to notice that they're losing muscle, their strength, the recovery times, and they kind of just assume, well, this is just part of getting older. From your perspective, working with both elite athletes and everyday adults like myself, how serious is the age-related muscle loss, and why does maintaining muscle matter so much more to health, vitality, and longevity?
Well, this matters for everyone, not just athletes and bodybuilders. This is something that every adult should be addressing, male and female, any age really, 20 and up for sure, is if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So we're not active enough. This is not just affecting how we look. This affects our strength, our mobility, our metabolism, our energy, our recovery from work or play. This is affecting how we age, right? This is making us lose our ability to perform in life, quality of life. Our longevity is affected by this because most people don't realize that muscle is an organ. And I like to call it the longevity organ because if you can't move, you can't keep healthy. If you can't keep healthy, you can't keep living.
And I'm telling you, man, there's always something that my guests leave me with, and I love it. And you graced me with that mentality. You ain't got to age old. You can age young. And I've adopted it. So with that, Doc, question for you. Can you kind of tell my audience, what is IGF-1 deer antler velvet extract and why do people need to know about this product?
Well, I agree 100% with what Ron was saying. And, what we got here really is that, we all know about, we don't use it, we lose it with exercise and everything else, the muscles we see when we hit a certain point on our lives, we seem to not be able to have as easy of a time maintaining muscle tone and our strength and our recovery from our exercise, from our workouts. And here we are now. Beyond that, we're realizing that as we age, also what's happening, our growth hormones going down, our testosterone's going down. In particular, with growth hormone, there's the specific compound known as insulin-like growth factor 1. And insulin-like growth factor 1 is kind of like literally the main thing that everybody associates with growth hormone, especially what we just talked about. It is, if we're talking about muscle today, it's the thing that helps us to repair muscle. It's the thing that helps us to grow muscle. Remember, guys, when you're working out, you're actually causing microscopic damage in the muscle. The body starts to repair it. It gives off increased expression of this thing called IGF-1, and it causes increased healing to the individual muscle fibers, allowing the individual muscle fibers to expand and grow, and also stimulate growth of new fibers, right? So it's all about having enough of that IGF-1 on board. And the converse is true. As we get older, we don't have enough. And if we don't even, and of course, exercise sets it off to a certain degree because we can express what we have more. But at some point, we're just going to hit a brick wall because we just don't have enough in there. And so it's vitally important that we do actually replenish this in our system. And I think we're going to be talking about that very specifically today, is that we're going to talk about our flagship product, the Neutronics Labs IGF-1 Plus product, as well as something called Man's Edge that helps with our testosterone.
And for the record, you know, when I first started and you guys took care of me, it was the 300,000 nanogram. And then Ron saw how fired up I was. So then we got
the million nanograms is incredible.
This right here. And God, I'm in love with this stuff. Let me ask you this, Doc. There's a term, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce this correctly. People are hearing often about, it's called scarpopenia. What exactly is this, as well as the correct way to say it, and why is it becoming a real concern?
For you, brother, it could be tomato, okay? But I'm telling you right now. So officially, it's called sarcopenia. So the word sarco has to do with muscle. Penia means a breakdown or a thinning of that muscle. And most people consider it an age-related natural shrinkage of the muscle. As you lose the muscle fibers, then you put other things like fat, and in certain circles in medicine, there's a theory that we actually glycosylate as well, as where we're putting sugar in there instead of the muscle, and it causes all kinds of interference with other functions in our body. But but it doesn't have to happen. Like I was just explaining, it's not just about a natural cycle of aging. It has a lot to do with the lack of these compounds, in particular the IGF-1 and especially with muscle, the testosterone. And I think, Ron, you've seen plenty of guys even younger now, which is really disturbing to me. You see them that they're just not able to put muscle on.
Hey, speaking of cycle of aging, I have a graphic that you guys shared with me that I wanted to share. Let me bring this up and get your guys' thoughts on this.
Ron, you want to take a bat at first?
That's just very typical on the top of the picture there. You see the man, just as he ages, he's hunching over. He's losing his muscle mass, his mobility, his flexibility. He's literally just collapsing if you look at the guy from 40 to the guy that's 80. And that's because people don't know how to look after themselves. And especially that's true in North America, Canada, United States, most unhealthy, most unfit people on the planet, which is something we need to address. And it's because of our sedentary lifestyle, poor nutrition. I mean, 75% of the population, according to the medical field, is chronically dehydrated. I don't even drinking enough water. And I'm going to tell you, it's way higher than that. I'm sure Dr. Fong will agree with me. I'm going to tell you it's probably 98%. And then look at the nutrition of the American diet. Look at what's in the grocery stores. Look what they're passing off as food.
Oh, man.
It's a huge problem.
Yeah, I don't want to be a hypocrite, but man, once I start seeing patients in the day, I'm terrible about drinking water. I literally have nurses handing me cups of water all day long because they make fun of me. They're going, "Hey, Mr. Desert," or some people make a joke about I'm going to turn into that. You guys ever see that Star Trek episode where they find the crew that's left, they completely dehydrated as a powder, like a pile of powder, and so somebody left a bag of like colored powder on my desk one day. They say, "That's going to be you if you don't drink this or whatever." So I'm going to make that confession, and look at that. I want everybody to see what Ron just did. He took a big swig of water. I should have a bottle of water here, which I'm doing the podcast. I forgot to do it, but hydration's absolutely critical. your muscles, actually your body, and just referring back to that reference to Star Trek, remember your body's over 76% water. If you don't maintain that balance, all your metabolic functions are going to go off because it's relying on that certain level of the hydration, of the humidity, if you will, of the level of water in your body, so that all the biochemical processes can move at a certain rate, right? Let's bring that picture back up. I want to actually get into that since you're asking me. So, guys, I'm an osteopathic physician. We're fully licensed physicians, but again, just like our MD brethren, but our biggest difference is we have an emphasis on looking at the structure of the body. When we look at the structure of the body, the structure dictates the physiology, dictates the function of the body. When you look at the guy above who's not maintaining the muscle, not just necessarily strength training, but also lacking things like the IGF, the testosterone, et cetera, you see he's starting to hunch over. Yeah, that's going to cause all kinds of problems because just from the structure of the body, certain parts of your back are going to start to have to, literally compensate for other parts, even differently and more. And that puts you at a less and less ideal or optimal body structure. And also that alignment is going to affect the function of everything eventually, including your organs. And so that's really kind of important to understand that. And if you look at the guy at the bottom who's maintaining that posture, and I even scold my students for this sometimes and say, hey, sit up straight, because you know what your mom told you about sitting up straight at the table? That's actually really true. And it has a lot to do with helping to maintain this, especially if you're not training and you're not aware of all the stuff we're talking about today, which we're trying to educate you about. Your posture, and you look at my brother Ron there, look how straight he sits. I mean, all of us need to be like that. And Alpha, you got good posture. And again, this is really important because it forces the body to put itself back at the alignment that's optimal for its function. So again, structure dictates the function, and so it's critically important as you go. And Alpha,
I want to make a comment to that real quick, Doc, because you guys know, I love the gym. That is my sanctuary, right? That's my vacation that I get to go to as often as possible. And when I go to the gym, I see both those men. At the end, I see the older guy that's there and he's got that, that hunch, like that ball that's back here. And then I see the old guy that looks like a beast like that other one. Now, I'm happy that they're both there because that means there's a conscious effort to try to make their life so. But I tell myself, I want to be that guy. Like, that's what I want to be. I'm happy the other guy's here, but he's probably here because he's probably trying to correct an issue. I don't want to have that issue. And so I just want, for my younger audience that's watching, I want to remind you, like, listen to what these guys are telling you, because there's two pathways real quick, right? The one on top.
Yeah, you could be one or the other.
You got to be proactive in your choices. So I'll give it back to you, Doc.
Actually, look at what's behind me. I'm off site from my office today. I'm working in a clinic, and it happened to be on the wall, and I thought it was really appropriate. So I set up my computer and the camera here. And what it says is you don't have to be sick to get better. So I know you guys were making fun of me about that word wasn't clear earlier, but it says that you don't have to be sick to get better. Guys, there's an old, being Chinese, Confucius, you guys probably heard of this philosopher in ancient China. He had a very popular term. He said an ounce, he says no, I'm sorry, that was another one. But he said that no compensation can make up for the premature failure of our bodies. And again, if we take steps now, something as simple as the posture, exercising, and what we're going to talk to you about today about keeping optimal levels of hormones and these growth factors in our body, in particular testosterone, IGF-1 is what the main things we're going to be talking about. These are critical for us. And Alpha, can I have you pull that cross section of the muscles there that kind of looks like, okay. So guys, I want you to look at this diagram. This is just amazing because this is what, if you look at the top there, it says A. That's normal, healthy bone as we're younger. B is where we have this condition, as we were mentioning, called sarcopenia, the thinning of the muscles. And we've just spoken about the reasons. Now, what I want you to notice is, look at all the pink stuff in the A. That's muscle. Now, you see in B that's visibly less, but what else is in B that's different? You've got a lot more of that tannish stuff, that fat, that residual non-functional tissue, which is now going to be an interference or a hindrance to other things besides the muscle working. Those things that are red, blue, or blood vessels. I think I see some yellow ones in there. Those are lymphatic channels. So lymphatic channels, for instance, they run through the fat, but you got more and more fat. Guess what? There's a chance that you're actually going to prevent things from actually moving as well as they're supposed to. So making it as simple as I can. Stuff that needs to go somewhere is going to be hindered. Stuff that's trying to get out of there is going to be hindered. You have less metabolic tissue. It's going to create increased chances of insulin resistance because it's a little oversimplification, but active tissue, less chance of insulin resistance. More fat could typically put you at risk for insulin resistance. Of course, Ron, who's an expert on detox, that fat is just a huge reservoir of garbage in our body. Wouldn't you agree on?
Absolutely. You know, what I tell my clients that really makes them think is like your health and fitness is not a matter of chance or genetics. Now, genetics are important, but it's a matter of learning to live a healthy lifestyle for life. That's what it's all about.
Real quick, before I give it back to you guys, and Ron or Doc, or maybe both of you guys can comment on this. I don't know if I've said this on the show with you guys before, or if it was just general conversation. One of the things that I noticed when I started to clean my diet and hit the gym and remove these things that, you know, where these nasty plastics get in us and all this, you know, the fat and all, I noticed that I would get these hard workouts. You know, the missus would look at me and she's like, "Oh, you got a good sweat on," but I wouldn't stink. There wouldn't be this like bad odor that came with me. And I knew that my body now had got to the point where, you know, not everything, you know, it's always a work in progress, but that I could tell my body was cleaning itself out of these things. Sometimes I could do the, you know, the armpit check before you can talk to someone. And I'm just like, you could see, I mean, the sweat was there, but I didn't stink. I don't know if you guys want to comment to that.
It's got everything to do with what you're drinking and eating, right? Exercise is about 20% of the equation. It's super important, but it's only 20%. 80% is your mindset, what you're drinking and eating. You're 76% water, as Dr. Fung is saying, right? That's a fact. And the rest of it is what you're consuming. And because people don't know how to maintain hydration and proper nutrition, and because the food has been so denatured, our soil's depleted, our world is so toxic, I'm forced to supplement. I can't get every nutrient I need just eating perfectly all whole food every day, doing everything right. It's not possible. That's why I will never stop taking Neutronics Labs. You know, all of these things, I need them. I'm not living without them because I'm not going to age gracefully like people are telling me to do. No, I ain't doing that. I'm going to maintain my strength and energy and health for the rest of my life till my last days, my last breath. And to do that, I have to supplement, because what's happened is this terrible diet that everybody's consuming in North America, at least the vast majority, and the toxic beverages and the water, it's causing toxicity and malnutrition. It's affecting our mind. It's affecting our body. And this is turning people into a muscle-burning, fat-building machine. And we're supposed to be a muscle-building, fat-burning machine. So we've become something we're not supposed to be. And that's because of everything I just mentioned. And those poor diets cannot produce proper optimal levels of testosterone or estrogen or growth hormone or IGF-1 or IGF-2 or any of the other essential growth factors. It's impossible. Your body can't make something out of nothing. So that is why it is so important for people to understand that, yeah, you need to clean up your diet. You need to get hydrated. You need to work out. But even if you do it all perfectly like I do, I'm extremely strict with my, it's okay, I'll go back.
Well,
this is what people need to understand. Even if you eat properly, you eat the best whole foods, all organic, and you drink the best water, and you go to the gym and you do all those things, you will still find yourself deficient in hormone production, because the best food today is deficient. It's void of the level of nutrition. The nutrient density is nothing like it used to be. It's just a fact. So, 50 years ago, the food was totally superior to today. So that's why I'm here today. That's why I am putting all of my clients, no matter their age, whether they're 20 or they're 85, they're all going on Neutronics Labs immediately. The men are going on the men's formula. Women are going on the women's formula because they have issues with their hormone balance and production. I'm putting them all on the 1,000,000 nanograms of the IGF-1 Plus product, which is something I got to talk about for a minute, because this here, like I'm very knowledgeable on nutrition and supplementation because I was mentored by a brilliant biochemist, a brilliant doctor, and a formulator of natural medicine. I've been doing this my whole life, right? And 35 years professionally. That's just the way I've been raised to live health and fitness, right? And I can tell you, there's nothing on earth like it. There's nothing that compares to the potency, the power, and the massive matrix of growth factors and the building blocks that we need in our blood on a daily basis to function optimally and have a great day, to work out and recover quickly. If we get injured, recover quickly. If you work hard because you have a very physical job, you come home, you sleep the next day, you wake up, you're refreshed, you're ready to go. No problem, all over again. That's not what people are experiencing. Most people are experiencing brain fog. They're fatigued. They're gaining weight. They're losing muscle. This is normal, but it's unnatural. And it's happening because they're deficient in essential nutrients. So their body's lacking all kinds of essential nutrients. And that means they're going to be deficient in all these hormones, that you cannot be healthy and strong without the hormone at optimal levels and in proper balance. Isn't that right, Dr. Fung?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really the key here. And Alpha, this is really kind of critical, is that we always talk about getting enough hormone in the body, but realize that, again, form follows function, right? So if our bodies are not in a good layout, so we have more fat, we have less muscle in particular, we're also going to affect how those hormones work. So let me say that again. Endocrinology, just understanding hormones and other factors in the body, it all is biochemistry. And if your pathways are set up, your body is set up in the way it was meant to go into, you get the optimal effect, benefit, and function from those said hormones or factors. But if your body is out of that alignment, well, guess what? We go down a different path. The same ABC is supposed to give you XYZ effect. Now it's going to give you JKL effect or whatever. I'll give you an example. Hopefully nobody has nightmares about that. But you guys who studied something called the Krebs cycle, how you make energy in the body back in college, if you did biochemistry, if you did everything right, you had 38 what we call ATP or energy units. If you did something wrong, you could have 18, 12, 6, even as little as 2. So realize that if conditions in the body are not optimal, in this case, the balance of lean mass to fat mass, you're going to see that. And in direct reference to your question, Alpha, when you're doing this and you stink, a lot of that is sometimes the lymphatics not moving. And that's another thing that when I was kind of alluding to in the map earlier of that cross section, is that the lymphatics, which are essentially your sewage system, nothing else pumps them. You don't have little hearts and little pumps all over your body. It's when you move your muscles, you squeeze the muscles, that you move the lymphatics, and that's where it pushes everything through to something called the thoracic duct. It then ends up in the liver to process all the garbage out, and then basically most of that goes out in the stool. But stuff that doesn't process, stuff that gets stuck, that's in your pores. That's what comes out in your sweat. That's what makes you stink. So
I'm glad you guys addressed that, because my audience is getting motivated, and I love that, and they want to make these changes. And a lot of them are like, they just kind of assume that it was just part of the lifestyle. Well, it's part of aging, it's part of my lifestyle. And I'm glad you guys dived into, like, no, this is what's going on under the hood that's making us feel this way. That's important. I have this PubMed article from the National Library of Medicine, and let me bring it up on the screen so you guys can all see what I'm talking about right here. And insulin-like growth factor 1 and the risk of Alzheimer's, dementia, and brain atrophy. Now, I definitely want to get your guys' thoughts on this, and I can bring it back up if you guys want to take a look at it. The missus works in the medical industry too, and she says that she has seen the numbers with Alzheimer's and dementia skyrocket. She's in the rehabilitation side of it. Can you guys comment to that, please?
Ron, you want to kick it off?
Absolutely. I mean, your brain needs essential nutrients. Your muscles need essential nutrients. Your heart, your lungs, your body needs the hormones. These are not optionals. They're called essentials. So what's happening is Americans are too sedentary. they're chronically dehydrated, they're malnourished, and that sets you up for all kinds of problems. And being deficient in hormones is a huge problem. It's all about getting your body in homeostasis. So you need to be in hormonal balance. That's critical. Nothing will throw your life off track more than having hormone imbalances or being low in testosterone or low in growth hormone or low in IGF-1 or IGF-2. All of these things are essential. And they're the signals. Like, think about this. When we were kids, right, we didn't have to do push-ups to grow pec muscles.
No.
We didn't have to do chin-ups to build back muscles. We didn't have to do squats for our leg muscles to grow. They just grew. How did they grow? Hormones.
Right.
What's the difference between a man and a woman? A man has tons of testosterone, at least he's supposed to have, compared to a woman. The optimal level of testosterone for a man is 800 nanograms per deciliter. The optimal level for a woman is 70. Look at how different a healthy male is from a female. She's very feminine. He's very masculine.
Exactly.
That's hormones. Look at what happens when they give people hormones. For example, when female bodybuilders take testosterone, they start growing facial hair. They start building all kinds of muscle mass they could never have on their bodies without this drug in high doses. All kinds of things happen. They start to look like a dude. They lose breast tissue. Hormones affect us massively. Then look at a bodybuilder, a male who takes steroids, and sure, he puts on a bunch of muscle, but he loses bone density. He has kidney and heart problems. He has liver toxicity, and he has problems with his temper. Sometimes these guys go to jail for killing girlfriends because they're on steroids. So look at how hormones affect us. Look at a woman with PMS or a woman with menopause. That's a hormone problem too. So it's very important that people understand your hormones are the first place you want to, next to hydrating yourself. The next thing I always talk to everybody about is their hormones, because you got to be hydrated. If you're dry, you die, right? So hydration is always number one. Number two, got to get your hormones in balance. And there's never been anything like this that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just going to talk about this. This is just an example, okay?
Perfect.
Here's the most powerful, potent deer antler extract formula on the planet. And I can say that, and anyone out there, I challenge you, prove me wrong. Go ahead, try to prove me wrong. Try to prove me wrong. You can't. It's impossible. There is over 400 bioavailable active ingredients in here. That means they're completely absorbable, and they're living, and they're absorbable because we have 98.6% absorption through the liposome delivery system. Try to find me a product. I challenge everybody. Find me a product that has 98% absorption. Now we got 18 growth factors, 40 compounds, 21 amino acids. This is 50% amino acids. It's 34% essential minerals. It's omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, 20% collagen. I have clients who I'm putting on these formulas from Nutronics Labs, and they're dropping all kinds of supplements they were wasting money on because it wasn't even doing anything for them because they weren't absorbing it.
Exactly.
Then you have all the essential peptides. A lot of people spend a lot of money on peptides. Now, we're not a peptide company, and we don't add peptides in here. They're just naturally occurring in the deer antler extract, like a healthy piece of beef or some raw organic milk. There's peptides in there too, okay? And we have natural anti-inflammatories. All of my clients, their inflammation is disappearing. And I didn't put them on an anti-inflammatory. I put them on this. All of my clients' cognitive function has greatly improved. I didn't put them on a nootropic. There's nootropics in here. Yep. And you have so much more energy. You recover so much faster. I think, Alfredo, you had a testimony you mentioned earlier about how you just recovered from an injury. Why don't you tell us about that? Because I thought that was awesome.
Let me set you guys up for this. My audience knows because I've complained about it on shows where I'm like, sorry, folks, like it affects your work sitting down, and when you're not mobile and you're dealing with a sciatic issue, for me, it's on my lower right side. It's very painful. To me, I experienced it for about 10 years when I was younger, my 30s. It'd be once every year or two that came. And then as I got older, that I adopted that same just poisonous mindset. Oh, this is just part of aging, right? Completely wrong mindset to have. But now it's twice a year. Now it's 3 times a year. But the point being is when it would happen, this thing would just put me out of the fight of the gym 2 weeks if I was lucky, 3 weeks more than likely. And you know, when you can't do that, you just, there's a ripple effect. Now your confidence, your energy, just everything's there. And so about 2-3 weeks ago, a month ago or so, I'm in the gym and I'm like, damn it, I felt it. You know it. Everybody that's done with the sciatic issue, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, damn it, I know what the next few hours is coming. Let me try to get some stretches in. And there it was. I felt it and it was painful. And I was like, I got to get home now. I got to get home. I got to get into my cold plunge to try to mitigate this. But one thing that I did, because I already knew that I'm done with the gym the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm done with the gym. I got to accept it. When I got home, I doubled my dose because I had already taken some, and I'm talking about the Maximus, right, baby, the gold one, 1,000,000 nanograms. I added an extra dose to what I was already taking. And I was just like, let's just hope it helps, right? And I'm thinking like, let's just turn 3 weeks into a week and a half and I take that as a win. The second day, I notice a completely different feeling. And I'm like, what the heck? Third day, it's gone. It was to the point where it was like, did I agitate it? And I'm like, no, you agitated. You know that pain you felt. And I'm just like, this is the only thing that's new. 2.5 days, you guys. 2.5 days, completely good. I'm back into the workout cycle. Like, tell me, whoa. I know that this helped me, but what exactly? How?
Can I ask you to pause for 2 seconds? Let me make sure this doesn't go off, and then at the same time, I'm glad Alpha. I'm so glad that you talked about this story, because just like you were mentioning about Alzheimer's in the brain in the article, you're talking about your sciatic nerve, from what you were telling me before the show. So sciatic nerve is an actual nerve that forms, from the plexi in the lower back, the lumbosacral plexus. And that particular nerve is very common to get stretched the wrong way, compressed the wrong way. And usually you have some pain that kind of radiates down, but usually didn't go past your knee. And so that's typical sciatica. Well, everything you mentioned is everything we've wanting to talk about, is that the Neutronics Labs IGF-1 Plus, and all of us seem to have the maximum dose in our hand today. So this is our 1,000,000 nanogram dose, are the strongest thing you can get out there. This particular compound, as we mentioned earlier, is a deer antler extract. It has, like Ron has already said, so many beautiful nutrients in it. But in particular, IGF-1 itself, it's the thing that helps us to repair tissues. That's what the ancient Chinese knew. That's why they put deer antler in everything, so that you could recover quicker, no matter what. So that in itself, it's got its own healing cycles. It has collagen for connective tissues. And in particular, IGF-1 and IGF-2 are in of themselves, along with the nootropics that we mentioned earlier, are very neurotonic, meaning that they're reparative, they're supportive of neurologic function. You mentioned about Alzheimer's, that people who didn't have enough, specifically the insulin-like growth factor 1 in this particular compound, that is very directly related to increasing levels of Alzheimer's. And I mentioned earlier, we seem to be seeing people running out of growth hormone a lot earlier in life than they used to be. So that really correlates extremely well with what the article is saying. So I don't have it with us, but I'll flip you back to an article that came out about 15 years ago. It's a research article that they had mice that were actually bred specifically to look like they had Alzheimer's disease. And I want to say it's Cedars-Sinai. Yeah, Cedars-Sinai was the hospital that did this. And they actually fed those mice IGF-1. And lo and behold, they probably didn't have just IGF-1. They had IGF-2 in there somehow. But the bottom line is, these mice that couldn't find their way through a maze to find cheese, after you started giving them the IGF-1 in particular, they literally could make it to the cheese. The natural instinct was there, but they couldn't put their brains together, so to speak, to do that. So that's clearly increased indications of what we were saying with the earlier article. So the take-home message, everybody, is that this stuff, this deer antler extract, which has IGF-1, IGF-2, insulin-like growth factors, and all these neurotropics, these are the neurotropins, there's different names for it. These are all compounds that are supportive of the nerves, helping them repair, giving them the building blocks. The take-home message is that this is a neurologic tonic that can help you recover from all kinds of neurologic issues. And more importantly, just like it says on the wall above me, don't let yourself go bad if you don't need to. Let your body make it be the best it can be.
100%. You know, a very large portion of my audience is older than age. And I want to bring your guys' attention to this article right here. Stronger muscles after age 60 linked to longevity. For my audience that's older, and I'll say a significant of them are over the age of 60. Break this down for us here, Doc.
Yeah, so I mean, the research is there, guys. The better muscle tone, the better muscle mass you have, you're not only maintaining your strength, your balance, your resiliency, but in particular, mobility. Mobility in general is the thing that keeps people healthy. For a short time after I came out of residency, I actually did a little bit of gerontology, like taking care of the folks at the nursing home. And the number one thing that led to what we call morbidity, which is a decline of their health and mortality, unfortunately, meaning they died, was when they lost mobility. So somebody broke their hip, God forbid. We had huge fall prevention protocols just for that. But if you went through and you broke your hip and you had to have surgery, the critical part was get them on that leg, get therapy on board. Why? Because you wanted them moving. When you're laying there say in the nursing home, the number one thing was you're going to get a blood clot. That's going to kill you. You're going to have these other issues like bed sores. That they get overwhelmingly infected, these folks are going to die. And so all these things are critical. Again, being Chinese, I grew up in San Francisco and I watched hundreds of people at a time doing this thing called Tai Chi. In fact, it became the first martial art that I ever studied. So this Tai Chi, even though it's a martial art, it was really more of an emphasis of fluidic movement through all the joints, moving the body and actually developing range of motion. If I can use doctor terms now, I wouldn't have said that back then. It's kind of funny. But the whole point is everybody's moving. I mean, I see folks who are literally 100 years old moving, and and I see them compared to people who don't know about this. Those people are they're in bed all the time. These folks, they're moving, they're taking their grandkids, their great grandkids, if they're old enough. That was traditional Chinese, running to the market, bringing home, the grandparents or whoever were picking the kids up from school. They were super active. They were mobile. They were healthier. So it's just like everything else we said, guys. It's all about all those different changes in the tissue. You maintain your muscles. You are not only just going to look stronger and be stronger, you're going to be healthier. Your body's metabolism is going to work better. Your ability to control inflammation, for instance, is better. Your ability to detox is going to be better. You name it, it's going to work better because you maintain the muscle. So it's kind of like, it's an indicator how good you are, but it also is a functional measure of how well you can maintain yourself. So I just can't say enough about it. It's just literally the number one thing you can look for is how good a person looks. And didn't we have a picture of that lady? It's like 90 years old, and
yes.
She just looks absolutely
89.
incredible.
Yeah, bring that up.
Yeah. What do you think, Ron? Do you think? I know you didn't train her personally, but I think that she is amazing. I mean, this lady is 90 years old, guys, and if you look at her, she's super defined. Ron, what do you think about her?
Well, it's very obvious to me she's natural, and she knows what she's doing. See, we're not supposed to grow old. It's not natural. It's unnatural, and that's going to be hard for people to comprehend. But I can tell you this: I'm starting my 59th year this month. Okay, and I can tell you, honest to God truth, I feel like I'm in my 20s. And I don't, people can believe me or they can't believe me. That's up to them. Most people couldn't comprehend that being possible because of how they feel and how everybody they know feels. But let's put it this way: if everybody's chronically dehydrated, eating the wrong foods and not taking care of themselves because they're not an expert or a professional and hasn't been educated on how to do it, and they can live to 89, 90 years old, then how long do you think that woman can live when she looks better than most 45-year-olds at 90, 89 years old? Okay. So it's all about lifestyle. And she's not on steroids. She's not doing peptides. I know a lot about this woman. I know what she's doing. She's drinking pristine water. She's eating organic whole foods. She doesn't eat junk at all. She doesn't drink, doesn't party, doesn't smoke. She doesn't do all the things that people are doing that's typical in North America to destroy us. She's doing it old school, and she's been consistently training her whole life. That's the potential of how many women in America and men in America would want to work out and take care of themselves and stop making excuses if they knew they could look like that at 90, 89 years old.
Well, let me ask you this, Ron. I mean, you work with the elite athletes. Like this is what you do. You like Doc, you are experts and authorities in your field. What can people do to fight back to maintain their mobility as they age?
Number one, I have never seen people gain muscle mass and recover from exercise and hard work faster in my life. And I'm 35 years experience as a holistic health and fitness expert and a coach and trainer than using this product right here. This 1,000,000 nanograms of IGF-1 in this bottle. Now, it's not been added in there. This is straight up deer antler extract, and it has 1,000,000 nanograms naturally occurring because of the amount of deer antler extract in here and all those other things I listed. This here is making people heal and recover so fast that it's shocking to me. I've never seen anything like it in my life. That's why I'll never, stop taking it. All my clients love it, men and women alike. That's the first thing I would tell everybody to do. Male or female, get yourself a bottle of this 1,000,000 nanograms of IGF-1. That's just the name of the product. The nickname is Maximus. This will turn you into a gladiator, whether you're a man or a woman, and you'll start gaining muscle even if you don't get off your butt because of that powerful IGF-1. And I can prove that to you because I did a 3-day water fast recently. And I've been doing fasting for, decades. This is nothing new to me. So I know exactly what I'm doing. Same water, I take salt, I put it on my tongue after I drink. I do everything the same, but I had no food. And I made a point, and I actually did this to put this to the test. The only thing I did different was I took this product while I was fasting, no food for 72 hours. And I took the Man's Edge from Neutronics Labs as well. And I took it 5 times a day for 3 days. Okay. So I upped my dose, 0 food, and I measured my muscles before I started. I weighed myself before I started, and I worked out twice a day with weights. And normally when you don't eat food for 3 days and you work out, what happens to you, Alfredo?
You start losing that strength.
Oh yeah. And you lose muscle mass because you're starving your muscles and you're working out. Okay. I didn't lose 1 millimeter of muscle on my body. I didn't lose any strength. I could lift the same weight for the same reps for 3 days. And it was shocking to me. But I released 7 pounds of toxins because I had such a high amount of water going on. I upped my water intake big time, and I lost fat. And I know I didn't lose any muscle because I measured my muscles, and my strength and power was there, and my endurance to lift the weight, as many reps was there. So I lost 0 muscle. That is shocking to me. And I have people that are gaining muscle when they don't even go to the gym since they've been on the 1,000,000 nanogram bottle of the IGF-1 from Neutronics Labs and the male formula, Man's Edge. So that's what I would tell everybody to do right off the bat. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So don't have to trust me. Don't have to put your faith in a company you don't know. Put it to the test because you can't lose.
Well, I'm gonna
yeah. Well,
go ahead.
Can I add to that from a clinical standpoint?
100%.
So I see patients all the time with neuromuscular degenerative disorders. I see a lot of patients with chronic Lyme disease. They don't want to move. They hurt so much. They're so exhausted. They're bedridden. They go through our therapies. We kick their asses. Sorry, I should have said that, but we literally kick their asses, and we're trying to kill these infections. And I literally have them on the Neutronics Labs IGF-1 formulas, various levels depending on what I'm looking for. But compared to before I did that to all these patients I see now, it is a standard. I will not do it without that because we will wipe them out trying to get rid of the Lyme disease and other infections. And we see them not only recover quicker, but they literally, just start to bounce right back. And and if it didn't have all the growth factors in this particular bottle that what we've been talking about all day here, that would never happen. So it's just as a corollary to what Ron says, you don't even have to work out, and literally you're going to see some of these benefits because your body, and I'm going to say this again, is literally starving for it. Your body is missing these things because we're not making enough for it. And if can I take a couple seconds? I'm going to
100%. I'm not in any rush, so you fire off.
The origin story. And about 3 years ago, I had a lady, unfortunately, had Alzheimer's, not Alzheimer's. I'm sorry, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, who was was leaving this world. But at that point, the strongest one we had was the 300,000. And when I was using it on her, I was actually giving her really great quality of life, was able to help maintain her, and nothing else had helped her prior to that. I won't name the medicines, but the whole point is that the traditional stuff that we use in ALS wasn't helping her. When I was doing the therapies that we do at our center, as well as the IGF-1, we were able to maintain her, and she did really well for a while. But the origin story, of course, of Neutronics Labs is that this very deer antler extract was actually applied to our founder's cousin who had ALS, was given a few weeks to live. Not only did that relative not die, but started to flourish and live for another 15 years. And now back then it was actually deployed in an intravenous fashion. And, of course, that can't be something you can mass get to the public. I mean, unless you guys want to, hey, show up everywhere. We have all these infusion clinics through the country. It wasn't going to fly like that. So this is why, through the brilliant research at our founder, Mr. Rick Lentini, he found a way to use a fat-based delivery system, a liposomal delivery system that actually gets this through under the tongue right into the bloodstream. We know that works with things like nitroglycerin, but this enhances that absorption to the point where a third-party independent testing verified, get this, guys, 98.6% absorption. That's not a radio station, although it sounds like a radio station, but 98.6% absorption. And that is just absolutely amazing. Most other products that you don't see this delivered in that fashion, the best they're going to get is around 30%. And sometimes as dismal as 10%. Because when you put stuff through your stomach, you got acid, you got digestive enzymes in the small intestine, all that stuff eats this stuff up. And by the time you absorb it, you get very little. And literally, you get it in the body, it's utilized right away. There's nothing residual. Your body is literally starving for it. I did an impromptu study. You can see it on neutronicslabs.com. But literally, we check people's blood levels before, during, and after utilizing one of the sublingual products. It was just amazing. You started here, you spiked up, and within half an hour, back to baseline. It's just absolutely amazing. Your body uses it. It is the most natural thing that the body is starving for. It is the most potent way of getting you to be the best that you can be.
100%. I'm going to ask a question. Then when we ask this question, I'm going to take some of this because I know some people say, yeah, you're showing it, but do you really do it? Two things that are going to prove that I do it. One, as I fill up this dropper, I got to turn it this way now because I'm starting to run out on it. Starting to run out. Hint to our team in the background right there, starting to run out. But anyways, that just to prove that we take it. So I'll ask the question. Then while you guys are answering it, I'll take this because it's phenomenal. This is going to be my first dose for the day. For my audience that's listening, you guys, and we'll start with you, Ron. Why Neutronics Labs over everybody else? And while you guys answer that, I'm going to enjoy.
Well, number one, I just want to say this. This is the first time I've ever been willing to put my name and back up a company and go public. I've recommended all kinds of supplements throughout my career of 35 years and air purifiers, water purifiers to clients, things I use personally, but I've never been willing to go public and put my name behind any company before Neutronics Labs. That's how much I respect the owner, Rick Lentini, and how much I love these companies, this company, trust the products because they are second to none. Number one, we have the highest potency and quality in the world of any supplement I've ever seen. We have the strongest concentration of IGF-1 and IGF-2. These growth factors are critically important. We are clinically proven to have the highest dose and third-party tested. So this is a fact. Also third-party tested to prove there's not synthetics in here, no steroids, heavy metals, glyphosate, all these other toxic things, and there's no fillers. It's just straight up pure and potent We have a proven third-party 98.6% absorption as well. And this is a patented liposome delivery system. So it's trusted by athletes. It's trusted by professionals like Dr. Fong, professionals like myself. I got all my clients on it, like Roy Jones Jr. We have celebrities like Stallone, Mario Lopez, and this is not just about muscles, everyone, and fitness and energy. This is also about your immune system. And it's essential for your immune system to have proper levels of hormones, right? For recovery, this is also obviously anti-aging, as we were talking about when Dr. Fong was talking about the mice. There was also a study done on mice and monkeys, and they gave them the deer antler extract, and they saw shocking results with the mice and the monkeys. Actually reversed the age of these creatures. With the monkeys, they were 18 years old. It was 20 weeks. They gave them the IV once a week only, and they reversed the age 2.14 years of these old monkeys. Okay, so there's no synthetics, and it is a veteran-owned and operated company, family company. It's not a public company; it's a private company, and they have very high standards. And we're also proud supporters of Tunnels to Towers. So that's a group we want to support because we all appreciate our veterans. I mean, you're a veteran, brother.
100%. Doc, anything you want to add to that? And then I got two more questions. And then I want to, at the very end of this, for those that stick around, I want to do a little quick bonus segment, right? I want to save it to the end. The way Ron has that smirk, I think he knows where I'm going in this little bonus segment. But anything you want to add to that, Doc? If not, then we'll let you guys tell my audience that's ready to get this how they can.
So I mentioned how the company started already. And the company's done nothing but continue to grow in research, in knowledge, and because we get feedback from all the folks that use it. So every single liquid product from the company starts with the deer antler. And, with the combination products, I mean, of course, this is our pure deer antler, the Maximus, a million nanograms, and with all the different effects. And I think we've done a show just on that before. But the bottom line is that, and of course we did a show on the Man's Edge, which is taking that deer antler, starting a little bit of lower concentration, and then adding all these beautiful ingredients for it. Thank you. That's the stack, as we call it. Thanks to Ron now. But all these rock star effective ingredients are all natural. Literally, Tonkattai, Tribulus, and the rock star, of course, is fenugreek. All can not only build up testosterone in the body, and fenugreek showing like a 30 to 40% increase across the board in anybody using it, but the fenugreek in particular can also enhance the receptors using the testosterone. Just amazing stuff here. And then, of course, we in the last year and a half, we added in there the L-arginine, L-citrine, which increases nitric oxide. This is a potent vasodilator. It makes blood flow increase throughout. So everything in here gets to where you got to go. And of course, you guys who are complaining about erectile issues, that's kind of why we put it in there. So increasing that will increase your circulation. And then, of course, the ladies started getting jealous, and then we came up with this, literally the IGF-1 ladies formula, which this is the original at 25,000 nanograms of the deer antler, literally the original IGF-1 product. And of course, it has things like boron. This is a big, interesting thing. This mineral called boron unlocks hormones that are bound up, especially if we get older. There's cranberry in here for urinary tract issues. There's B vitamins for neurologic. There's iron for, of course, keeping the healthy blood flow. And so, again, this was formulated to be a one-stop shop to help maintain your health for the ladies as well. And I guess, Ron, did you want to tell them about the specials we have going on?
Yeah, and I just want to add to what you're saying. I have my wife on the woman's formula. I have all the ladies on the woman's formula. So we don't want women to think they've been left out. Of course, all the IGF-1 formulas are great for women and men, but this female formula is amazing. All of the ladies within days, as far as my clients and my wife are concerned, they love it. They just absolutely love it. And when the new formula came out that's got 4 times the IGF-1 from a stronger, amount of deer antler extract in there, they're all noticing that boost. It's a lot better for those that need more, right? And it's just absolutely incredible. And now to the special, we we got a great offer here for everybody. You know, of course, they use the code ALPHA, right? Now, what Neutronics Labs is doing is really amazing. And I know that these formulas are expensive to make. They're not cheap to make. You get what you pay for. We're talking about live deer antler extract from New Zealand, from the red deer. They don't hurt the deer. They cut the last third of the antler off a living deer because you need living bioavailable ingredients. Nothing dead can support life. So they vacuum out the tissue inside the deer antler extract. Then it's cold pressed and freeze dried to not denature these growth factors and all these other building blocks we talked about. And then it's put into a bottle. It's third-party tested. So all of this costs money. This isn't cheap. They're not going around scavenging in the woods and picking up old dead antlers and then grinding them up or something crazy, right? So this is a very, amazing program to get this into a bottle. So there's 50% off on the auto ship, which you can cancel at any time. And again, 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can try it, and it's going to work for you. And if it doesn't, which it will work for you if you're faithful with it. If you brush your teeth every day, twice a day, take this every day, twice a day minimum.
Exactly.
And then possibly you need more later. We can help you with that. But it works because it's impossible that it doesn't work because of the 98%, 98% absorption, right? And if you use the alpha code, ALPHA, our man here, the alpha male, the ex-military man we got in front of us, get another 10% off. So your first order, you can save 60%. Now, the deal is incredible. They're not making a dime on you when you do this. I'm telling you, you're getting it all for free because when you buy a bottle of the Man's Edge right here from Neutronics Labs, they're going to give you a free bottle of the 300,000 nanograms of IGF-1 Plus with Long Jack, which is another product I love. It's part of my stack. I do the Man's Edge, the Million, and I use this. It's unbelievable. It's just awesome. And you get that for free, and that's worth $203. So you're getting a huge deal plus the 60% off of that. It's incredible. Then for the ladies, you can buy either of the women's formulas, and I'm going to recommend you get the new one with 4 times as much deer antler extract in there, 4 times as much IGF-1. Same deal. You get a free bottle of the 300,000 Long Jack. I mean, the question I have for all of you ladies and gentlemen, what do you got to lose? You can't lose.
Got to echo that.
You cannot lose.
You can
don't have
only
to
make
send back
yourself-
empty bottles. There's no gimmicks. There's no tricks. You just buy whatever you want. You get this incredible savings plus a free bottle, and then you put it to the test. It's going to work for you. 100% of my clients love it. It's working for everyone. Just a matter of taking it faithfully every day until those deficiencies in your body start to be eliminated and you start feeling stronger and healthier. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I'm seeing this with all my fighters. Roy Jones Jr., Owen Beck, Reggie Johnson, all of them. They've all been hit in the head a lot, more than everybody else on the planet. They're boxers, right? Especially when we don't see them fighting because they're sparring. They get hit more than. They all have brain damage. It's not a secret. Some of them worse than others. And I'm seeing all of them, their brain is rejuvenating, regenerating. Their brain cells are regenerating because their cognitive function is massively improving. They're speaking more fluent. Their memory is getting sharper and sharper. It's amazing to me. I've never seen anything happen so fast with cognitive function repairing. It's incredible. So I just urge all of you, if you're even thinking about it, just do it because you deserve to feel what it's like to feel better, feel stronger. And this will give you the boost you need to get off your butt, get exercising if you're not right now, and start thinking about eating better and just turning it all around. And it just takes one step, just like, you look at the top of a mountain, it's daunting, but it only takes one step to begin. This is that step to get your health on track, to get on a better journey so you can make the rest of your years your best years ever.
The best years.
Cannot agree with you more. And I'm glad you brought that up, brother, about the concussions and all that stuff. There's nothing out there in conventional medicine we can do for that. In fact, we can't even diagnose it short of certain things. Other than the autopsy, looking at the brain these days, we can't even diagnose it, except we got some advanced things like SPECT scans, special types of EEGs and functional MRIs now. About 10 years ago, we had none of that. we had no idea how to do this, and yet we were seeing the improvements with utilizing the deer antler, in particular the IGF-1, IGF-2, the neurotropins that have been there. And that was about the only thing that was out there at one point, and it's still the best. And I'm going to reemphasize something that Ron normally says. These compounds are God's gift to us. They're God's pharmacy to us. They are coming straight to us from the Lord himself to give us the ability to be the best we can be. You owe it to yourself, to everybody you love, to be the best you can be. You know, we never know when God needs us for something else. So be ready, guys, and be strong.
These two guys aren't going to do it because they're too humble and they're too professional. So I'm going to do it. This stuff is awesome, folks. Get it. It is awesome. If you're right here and if you've gone the distance this far, that means something in your body, your discernment, your energy, something is saying, I want to try it. Try it. That link's there, neutronicslabs.com. Use that promo code alpha, get the additional 10%. With that, in the last little, we'll call this the bonus segment right here. I'm going to share a little something, and then we'll close out with this, Ron and Doc. When Ron was getting me fired up about this, he's like, we're going to send you something for the missus. Because she's probably going to want it, right? And so I was like, all right, cool. You know, we get to do this, you know, this couple's journey together. Guys, I'm talking about your romantic part of your life. I'll still keep it professional, but the romantic part of your life. Holy smokes, right? Holy smoke. Everything you told me, Ron, you still didn't articulate it as well. I have a great life. I'm very happy with the romantic life that I had. Talk about just taking it to the next level for both of us. It's funny because we have a lot of our supplements and stuff is right here on the other end of the other side of my studio right here. And I laugh because at night when I'm working on edits, I hear when she grabs hers because I hear the and I just get this exactly like Doc. I get these laughs because I'm like, I know where this is going, right? I'm motivated because I know how great life is going to turn out for the couples and the people that are listening. Ron, clarify what I'm saying the way you understand it.
Well, I'm going to quote my dear friend and client Roy Jones Jr. Okay, and all these fighters, they got low libido when they finish fighting because they burnt up all their hormones. They're depleted beyond a normal human because of the extreme workouts that they got to do, and then all the fighting they've done. After decades of that, they're done. They're spent. They're just worn out, used up, and they're just thrown away. And they're just trying to hang in there, right? And so when I got him on the formulas, you know, within days he felt better. Within a couple of weeks, he was really impressed. He was waking up in the morning happy. You know what I'm saying? Like when he was in his 20s. And then a few months in, he'd really starting to feel good. And I'm talking to him, and he says, you know, Ron, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and had to move it out the way so I could see my feet. You know, it's just happening, you know, and I'm just about to start my 59th year, right? My wife is 34. We've been married 2.5 years. And if she wasn't on these formulas from Neutronics Labs, she could never keep up to me. I'm just saying. I'm just a healthy guy. What can I say? I take care of myself. I was taught how to do it, and that's just the way I choose to live my life. And it's amazing. And now I'm going to share something real personal. My wife won't mind. She's giving me permission. She used to have a lot of problems, a lot of disease. I'm not going to get into that. And she did a lot of drinking. She was a bit of a bar star. Lots of girls have done that. She was a model, all that stuff. And she used to smoke a lot of weed. And all of those things just destroy your health and hormone production. So when we got married, beautiful girl, we have a great, you know, sex life and everything, but her sex drive was low, okay? And when she got on the Neutronics Labs products, it's a whole nother level. Like she's like behaving like she's supposed to be behaving in her young years, okay? And now we're on the same page, you know? And so I don't have to initiate it. She's all good for it, right? But now she's coming to me, honey, you know, and she'll come in the office when I have a lunch break, and I'm like, wow, and this stuff
you're
works.
Not complaining.
I'm not complaining.
Hey, let me tell you guys something about that. It's all about, you've heard the mind, body, spirit connection, right? If your body's feeling better, if your body's getting the best that it can be with the IGF-1 plus from Nutronics Labs, and men we're getting our testosterone up, and ladies we're unlocking estrogen and everything else, everything starts to come together physically and physiologically. Well, the brain is going to say, hey, I got less stress going on, even if we don't realize it on the conscious level. And that's going to allow the brain to relax. So, I mean, I won't quite say sympathetic, parasympathetic here, but it's really, really close to that. And it's going to say, hey, I can relax and play. And boom, that just naturally starts to come. Everything falls into place, you guys. It's all of the greatest balancing act in the world is endocrinology. And we're giving you all the tools to make that the best balance you can have, and to be the best you can be.
Love you guys. Appreciate the bonus I get right here. When you guys told me there's one that's 4 times more powerful, I don't know if I have to go back and watch the replay, but I had to grin. I was like,
well, let me just say this. When you get her on that particular product, and if you have her on the 300 with Long Jack, those are the two. The 100,000 of the IGF-1 woman's formula and the 300 with Long Jack, you can give that to those two things together with her. She'll take it to the next level. But you better increase your dose, the man's edge in the 1 million, or you might not survive the night, brother. And what I had to do is now I have a mini fridge upstairs with refreshments, because we don't want to go all the way downstairs. I'm just recommending that. It's a good idea. It's nice to have water nearby and some fruit to refresh, to get those electrolytes back in.
Hydration. If you want that kind of life, neutronicslabs.com, promo code alpha. We'll catch you guys the next one. Good night. God bless. And simplify.